telling this that I'm not stroking. Even if you token something of a shore, there is no way, no way that niggas are used. This is itchy. Yet another bot. Exterminate, 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 exterminate. Probably start with bonking. Let us first mentally adjust our minds. Let some hands glittering. What are we starting the day out with? First, we're starting the day out with a couple of hands of Balatro, and then I have 4 videos in total for reaction. And then we might get into some trouble. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I've got a couple of assets I need to work through. And I also have a couple of voice lines that I need to rip from some of the alerts to make into, or rather from some of the shorts to make into alerts. In sorting through my seasonal depression, I've been trying to keep up with my backlog. I have the backlog saved. Now I need to physically work on extracting that backlog. Granted, on terms of all the stuff that is saved from the... Where is it? Was it? No, I didn't. It's not showing up. Got it now. Of all of material that I had saved from the voice alerts that I put aside specifically for the sub-dono side of the sub-awards, I have sound effects that I want to pull from those alerts without needing to fulfill the first sub-reward tier for having new alerts. So I rotate them out. So probably do that as well and sort through that with the audience. But mentally I'm not fully awake. So we throw some hands at Balatro so that my mental agility is high enough so I can actually comment like a human being when it comes time to react to content. As for the content itself, I have here from the stream VODs and from the stream ideas: disease of online politics, female groaners must be stopped, the absolute state of Crunchyroll, and how modern schools make terrible lighters deliberately, from Upper Echelon, Showan Head, Mother's Basement, and The Second Story. Some of these are your suggestions, some of these are struggler suggestions. Also, I saw what your deem was. Hi, Bolster. Is it technically an early stream when it's actually supposed to be the time that I normally stream? But I've been dealing with my problems, I guess. Depends on who you ask. What was that name that I was going to call him? I would have called it Real Nigga Hours, but I can't take that. Bloody and Strugger only own that one. I don't want to cannibalize their name. Negro side chats? Negro sidebar. Maybe Negro sidebar. Afro Parlor. Talking with X at the Negro sidebar. Sure, why not? I did tell Seep City yesterday that if people were willing to call in with questions, that we would be able to take the questions. But it just didn't happen to come up that there were people who had impressions of questions they wanted to ask. Then again, that's me being a bad host. So perhaps horror is onto something here. That, or I need to start having moderators actively tap me on the shoulder to remind me that there are people waiting. One of these two things need to happen. I have another talk with him this week that I scheduled for Sunday. So, I'm going to attempt to implement that, and also implement chats where it's me talking to them directly, as well as them being open to audience questions. Because in my defense, or you can remove that part completely and not do it in studio, it just could be a direct call. I could have done that. part of the goal was to have him come into the Discord so that he could become a part of the community. Another part of it could have been that I could have done that and then also called him directly, because I already have the tool on where people cannot send me DMs if they're not a part of my server or not a part of my friend group. These are things that did not occur to Carl's brain because he did not have coffee. I'm thinking out loud. I'm making a physical sticky note to remind myself of this on Friday so that I remember Sunday. Because both of these things need to happen. I, one, need to have somebody physically come in and tell me if I'm forgetting that there are people on the side. And also, I need to have parts specifically designed for talking to someone directly without audience participation. It's not necessarily fair to the audience participation, but then sometimes being able to have a focused conversation is important. We managed to have a focused conversation, but there was, not counting you, at least 4 to 5 people who I think came in at some point, although one of them came in and then immediately left, which would be part of why it does not impress upon my brain. But I should be impressing it upon my brain. Then at the same time, not everybody wants to come through and take the call in. Question mark. Or is this run at? Oh yes, I was dead. Also, I gotta get with you when I get back from my trip and get some kind of collab content done. What would you like to do? Could always be able to come along for what we're going to do at Pal World. Because I made the same offer to Sheep City last night, and before I talked to him. And he's down for it. Take out a co-op horror game and record gameplay for it. Have you purchased Section 13? It's probably a little bit more twin action stick shooter than it is direct horror. Because I still have the Colin, or rather not the Colin, the friend demo pass for Whisper Mountain Outbreak. My brain is screaming at me. Because I downloaded it the same day as I did the other ones. Yeah, it's right here. Whisper Mountain Outbreak Friend Pass. I think you already have the game, so all I have to do is you send me the code that then allows me to join your lobby. Oh, I did ask him that beforehand. It just did not occur to my brain while we were in the middle of the conversation. I was having too much fun talking to somebody who understood me. You do not have Section 13, which do has Whisper. Well, there's one thing. I know I have Phasmophobia, and I know that I have brain, content warning. Certainly I can't take both of these. probably celestial and maybe fishing for 6 cents. Full house, no heart flushes. I probably discard like this. And then like this. Wonder bar. Take the diamond. And then play the upper cards. And then throw the incarnation. Don't think this wins without triggering them. So we either take the flush, or we pray that we have enough point basis for the full house. That's probably the best way I can make this play. And then I could use the 6 cents until it no longer has purpose. I think it works. We'll just chat about it later. I'm trying to do more collab content, very community-based like you have been. Wonder bar! Everybody's growing! I still feel bad that I was too exhausted and too socially depressed, or rather, I tuned into your stream on your birthday. I had made the goal to go in, I made my video, and yet somehow I still managed to not show up to do what I planned to do. Which I believe was to be victimized in social gameplay. It's been giving me nightmares. I actually had a nightmare about it last night. Apparently you were like a lieutenant force captain, and I had done something stupid, like I was skipping every third stair in a facility that you owned, and people got angry at me that I was lackadaisical and had no cordiality. It was a very, very weird dream. See, I made sure that I called out and shouted out your stream because I actively put it there in the comment section and shouted it out at the end of the Charlie Kirk retrospective video. And yet, I was there in the chat room. I know I typed at least 5 messages saying, I'm here. And then the last few hours were a blank to my brain. I know I took a nap. And I know when I got back up, it was 5 hours later. And then I remember you were in my stream when I was then live again. And then everything came back to me in a flash. Many such cases. I hate how my emotions work. Because I had to go to your stream to get the link to your stream VOD to put it at the end of the Charlie Kirk video. And to also put it in the comment section. That's how I remember that I did it. Let's see here. I know I have it timed. It would be timed based on when I posted it. Not because... So, 3 weeks ago, at September 21st, 2025, 3 weeks ago, does it show the exact second? No, it does not. But I posted, had Birthday the Horror and Hellfire celebrating her birth, and then I had the live to your video. Let's see here. I don't remember when I popped into the stream though. I know you were playing something. I wasn't there at the start. You were talking about Reforged Gaming. You were looking through something that involved Cassie. I don't think the chat was moving very quickly. Then you got to this one. My brain says that I was somewhere in the middle, if not at the end. No, I remember. You started playing I'm Not a Human. Because Boster was there. Because Boster gave you a happy birthday wish and donated $50. Am I all the way at the end? It has to be somewhere in you playing I'm Not a Human. If you check your comments, you should be able to probably find me, I think. Because the live chat replay is not available. But I remember. It's not that big of a deal. Just my brain autistically working. Anyways, back to this shit. The 6 mult versus the 4 mult. X2 goes from 4 to 8. For safety, it's probably the club flush. And it doesn't break. I have to throw my heart 6. I prefer throwing another 6, but I don't want to use that Discord. Okay, or it's not bad. Where did they get another 6 of hearts from? It must have been created by the incantation. Okay. That's not that bad then. Putting this on the 10. Nice card. I'm poor. I'll be rich. Certainly that's worth keeping 6 cents alive for longer. Nice 7s. Not gonna get value here. Yeah, I don't want to throw that away. How many 6s do I have left? I have 2 left. That's worth it. I want to throw away a low card. You're a low card. Technically, this should be played for this flush. The base card point value is more than enough. Then I throw you. And then I pray that I didn't kill myself. I did not kill myself. Something of value, please. That is not something of value, game. I probably have to take the buffoon tag or I die. Money. And an effective way to get out. Four, 8, 12, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I'm looking for an extra card. While attempting to pay this rental fee. I found one. And let's hope I didn't kill myself again. You. Copy the king. Hit the king 3 times. The entire heart's flush. It pays for the rental, and there are no other cards of value with the exception of this 10 of hearts, but I'm not pulling that. Not with this many discards. Whee! Math. Hello, Wild 4. Filter cross would probably be important. My problem is that I need multiplicative scaling. Hello, straight. $13, $14, $13, $11. That should win outright. No break. Six sevens to the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an upgrade, but it's still luck. And it's expensive. Oh. want the abstract. But I also want the card deck fixing. Sacrifices. Money. I have one chance to make money. Debatable. I have the ability to make straights, but I don't think I should play them. And maybe I should, if I have sevens. Anything involving a 7 works. So let's start here. Money. Already paid for itself. And that's just one shot here. Money. And through all things, money is possible. And through all money, things are possible. Lord have mercy. Why is this card so goddamn good? Bay of a kind. Flush with our best scaling. 5 card hand gives me the best chances to hit. But I can start transitioning to something else too. Hello, thing that I can make into another 7. Hello, thing that I'm going to transform into a 7. Seven threes, 6 twos, 2 sixes, backwards. Beautiful. And we're too close. We're going to dupe the 10. And that should be enough. And I have enough 7s as a follow-up with the 50 to probably eke out 3 of a kind with 1 7 left. No money, but guaranteed win. No, you are not the choice. Poggers. It's certainly the guaranteed choice. Well, I guess I'm hanging you, Chad. Now you can scale. However, that's also probably the strongest thing that I was doing. still have enough spread that I could probably get away with doing flush. No. Yes. Yes. Welcome to the party, magic trick. This is going to be a very expensive rental. Emily, please. I cannot take an ectoplasm while I'm holding this. Let's hope Sigil doesn't miss. That's not that bad. Debatable. Another path to victory, I suppose. No. I explored previously this anti-debuff could kill me. I want to save my lower cards. Give me a king. Give me a king. Okay. That removes my top cards and leaves the sevens, so I can possibly get back my count. That's fine. Use hands as discards. Seven, 7. Give me another 7. Thank you. Technically, I do not need the 5. I only need the 4. Money, please. Money, please. Ow. Goodbye, complete breakfast. Hello, espresso. There's 1 for every sword, for every 2 clips held in hand. Face cards. Use of hide cards or cards around 7s. So organize them like this. You. I guess that's okay. I possibly could have taken the standard, but I want to be prepared for the eye. Just flush things. Money, please. have card hand. Money, please. Thank you. And one more again. Get it. I do not need that, but I do need this. Hello, additional scaling. Two rentals again. I cannot get away from you fuckers. Oh, I can get away from one of you. One less rental fee means that I'm much more consistent. Okay. I think this is the choice. Keep the 3 for the rental. My path out is 4 of a kind and flush. And then maybe 3 of a kind. Full house. Honey? No? Fuck me. Still, the plan's working. Fuck me. You. Hold money. Not bad. No money. I need cards that have enhancements to power up Joka. Fetch. Immolate, please. Fuck me. I'm not spinning Hex, that kills me. I'm not spinning Onk, that kills me. I'm not spinning Ouija, that's annoying. Mashita, Nitaple, where do I go from here? Getting a lot of 20 rolls, not getting a lot of money rolls. Hello, card that solves all my problems. Time for stacking value. Assume that most of my deck is clubs, and this is just going to hit randomly. Yep. Increasing mult value increases the baseline increases past my original value. Welcome back, abstract, and we live. Yeah? Yes. Hello, Hanged Man. Hello, Knight of Wands. I could probably do it, but I'm not going to take that risk. Breaking Tap was tempting, but no. Hold for money. One, two. Three, four. No. Does this count as an enhancement? 2.4. 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. If it goes to 7, then the clip counts. It does. Wow. Today I learned. I'd like to afford that, but I probably can't. That would be nice, but I can't afford that either. There'll be no reason to buy it either. It wouldn't be able to last long enough. And I don't have space for it. I need Wild 4. Money, finally. I don't really see a straight flush coming in anytime soon. But it's there when we need it. I guess I take the moon because I'm now playing clubs? Question mark? Flush seems more likely than before. Carl said as he's looking at a fucking straight flush and doesn't play it. Maybe it was doable, but I don't trust it. Money, please. No money. unfortunate. I am not doing that on the natural. That would be death. More importantly, cards in poker hands above your lowest hand are debuffed. My lowest hands are 2 pair, and high card. So I need natural scoring level from the jokers, or rather from the planets. We get rid of perishable again. We add to my cards. Please hit something good. Okay, none of them lost their color, so that's still fine. It's probably going to be pure Jokalisa and Flush here. I have to play each round so I can get scaling. Welcome, King. It can probably be done without the hits. Hello, Vampire. Here to suck off everything that I don't need you for. Hold, maybe? No, I just spent exactly enough. More Jupiter to get more stupider. Passing up the Mega because I need the scale. I also need money. Yes. Thank you, money. 7 more. X is going to have to do. I mean, honestly, it's really tempting, but I should probably not get rid of the scaling. But at the same time, then I can win. Natural flush scaling versus Wish You Were Here. One of the best cards in the game. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to do it. Oh, don't look. Oh, it's ugly. But there's no way that we should lose to this now, because the scaling will go down as soon as I enter into the ante. Still not going to play that. Okay. Technically perfectly fine. See? Much easier. Disabled. Doesn't matter. Get shit on. I need plus volt again. Hello, Illusion. again. And again, and again. Need money. Am I carried by Abstract Joker? I can be. Welcome back, Abstract. Technically, Lucky 7 could have been my extra molt core card, but I don't trust not having card molt. And I'm keeping the Justice in my back pocket in case I need to multiply. It's going on a seal. Jupiter to get stupider. Free real estate. Free real estate. Thank you. Okay. Our plan to get out is secured. You. Destroy 3 cards and give their value. Another set of Minor Arcana. Red Seal King. Emperor play. Copy. Back-to-back play. I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning! Ace play. Hold the tower. Hold the money. Play across the top. Play for cash. Bazingad. You're mine. Now I can afford an ectoplasm. No. 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 Maybe. None of my 2s are valuable. Goodbye. Ten. 8. No 9s. 3 9s. 2 of them below. Every hand 1 shots now. Mine. Play at 7s, give X2, win scored, 1 in 4 chance in held to destroy card. Deck fixing. Free deck fixing. 10s. No, I meant that wrong. Not 10 sevens. 7 nines. 9 sevens. 9 chances to potentially have a 1 in 4 chance to destroy a card held in hand and create deck fixing. Kappa. Hand me a 7, please. That's not a 7. I will take that, though. 7, please. Not a 7. Well, hello, smiley face. With a rental fee that I don't want. I do not want to destroy the king, but I probably have to play it and risk it breaking. I have to play both 7s so that the 7 doesn't delete the other 7, and then everything else is natch. And for posterity's sake, the king goes at the end with the cardinal shots from Lucky. Yeah, I think that's an appropriate scar, don't you think, chat? Why not? Let's get back the hand size that I got from Ectoplasm. And let's make ourselves more powerful. We're not going endless. We will start the videos after I'm done with this hand. Run. It was useful. Force 1 card to be selected is perfect. Actually, the first time actually getting used Power Surge. Oh, you just get to use this card. Still one-shotting. One more card. Shouldn't need anything else. Wonder what happens. The king should have gone to the back. Doesn't matter. Electro! Okay. One second, chat. Okay. Guess we're starting in order that I set them up. Boom. I'm okay, Tusky. I forgot to put Shadow in the chair before I left. I'm out. Ouch. Alright, let's begin.
This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper echelon. Political division is a consistent and growing problem. Not just in America, but also globally, the issue of politics often creates conflict, disagreement, and distrust. Agencies, ideologies, candidates, and more often become a focal point of argumentation, social media debates, voices raised around the holiday meal table even, and bickering within online communities especially. It's become normalized. But today, I want to take a very big step backwards and focus on the broader concept of politics, with no emphasis on any one particular side. Who are the people involved? Why are they involved? And using a trifecta of scientific studies with relevant examples, I want to make the case that modern politics itself is a mental disease. Probably the most common piece of feedback that I ever get on this channel is actually a question. People ask me, well, what can I do about it? And if you're talking about the world of dystopian technology, the answer is typically nothing.
Let's see here, what can you do about it? You can disconnect yourself from it, you can intentionally make a stand to prevent it from having a extreme focus and or obliviated caustic effect on your life. You can try to remove yourself from the discourse as much as possible until it has little to no effect on your life and only metastasizes itself in the form of things that you do and don't control directly. There's a lot of things that you can do, but not a lot of things that you can do that people will actively recognize as part of the solution. Because people don't respect the idea of the solution. Or people in general. It's one of the many downsides. Especially socially. I guess that's my ring. It's a never-ending problem. You solve for one issue, you have 50 others that appear out of the nexus. It's kind of shit, but okay. That's just the nature of politics. Because it's not about you, it's about how it affects the people around you, as well as your life. You can't get away from the issues of politics as long as you are surrounded by people who care about politics. Until you fully remove yourself from the system and no longer state as a perpetuation of a continued existence that can be affected by the problem persists in an effective reality where you are always at the mercy of politics. So until you can move out into the boonies, the sticks, live off-grid, you are always going to be affected by politics, no matter what you do. As long as you are a member of polite society. Now to say that there's nothing you can do to cybersecurity, well, that's not true. There's a lot you can do. It's whether or not you want to do it and when you want to be legal. Most of it's enforceable. Most. And if you're doing that, anything's possible. Depends on how much you don't like the government, though.
If, for example, you plug your phone into your car and all of your messages get instantly scanned, you can either buy a completely different vehicle from 20 or 30 years ago, or you accept that the practice has been normalized by almost every single major manufacturer, and you continue with your day.
Well, there's actually cars that you can buy that come with no frills, no bills technology. They have been made by major car companies. because they were either looking to cash in on the trend, or they understand that there are people who do not want to be victimized by the trend. Either way, they recognize that there is a marketplace. It's just a question of whether or not they're willing to serve that marketplace, and if they're actually a part of the zeitgeist. Realistically, the answer is yes, all of them are. Yes, even including your favorite one. But then again, that's like saying your favorite content creator is a part of the zeitgeist, even if they're not. Like me. And I can tell you for certain, chat, even if you didn't know I was an ex-Fed, I am not a big fan of the government. I am not a big fan of the government.
Very rarely does the simple act of raising awareness contribute to the death of the problem. But for politics, at least hopefully, awareness of what's happening behind the scenes directly impacts the ability for people involved to improve it. Just to reiterate this point, because I think it's very important, I will not be discussing any particular ideology. This is not us versus them group dynamics. It's an examination of everyone involved with the online world of political discourse. Right? This is not something to freak out about. It should be very enlightening, I hope. Let's get to it. Puzzle piece number 1 is a simple demonstration of the schism between political belief and economic reality. According to polling data from YouGov, this right here is a visual demonstration of political party voters in the United States and how they believe the economy is currently performing. Setting aside the very obvious discrepancy as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, what we see, very clearly demonstrated here, is that when the party controlling the White House shifts, so does the average interpretation of how the economy is performing. From November of 2020 through January of 2021, party control of the White House flips, obviously, and during that exact same 3-month period, voters belonging to those parties suddenly shift completely to the opposite side of the spectrum on whether or not the economy is getting worse or better. This monumental change has absolutely zero basis in reality. If you look at average inflation, there's no correlation whatsoever. Growth of GDP, same thing. Even the unemployment rate, once again, outside the obvious black swan event of the COVID pandemic, even the unemployment rate has absolutely zero correlating fluctuations that could ever justify half the country suddenly believing that the economy is getting worse, while the other half, who previously believed the same thing, spontaneously believe it's getting better.
Something, something, something. Prices of eggs under Biden is actually a result of a recession under Trump. And if you say differently, you're a part of the drunk man bad team. Yep, that's how that works on social media. Despite the fact that the price of eggs have now returned to its normal pricing after egg farmers, just like all the pork farmers, bacon farmers, and meat farmers, are not being forced to destroy their crop. Just like the raisin reserve that was overturned in California. Responsible for taking, for some people, up to maybe half their profits as farmers. With the hope that in the future, if they were to take their profits and as a part of the reserve, chose to use it as something to give to a place like Israel, that then maybe kind of sorta you'd see a return on prices and a return on investment, because we would have given them something in return, which is still theft and is still highway robbery, as well as lying to the public about the viewpoint of the actual state of the economy. And now that I've said that, I am now considered a Nazi.
Fundamentally, it's a very simple concept. When my people are in control, things must be getting better, but when your people are in control, they must be getting worse.
So true!
Sadly, it's a very common human perspective, it seems, but it's also laughably wrong, because economies at scale simply do not work that way, let alone at that speed during a 6-month window before and immediately after the change occurs. Point being, as per example number 1, political party voters are often completely disconnected from reality, believing that things are magically getting better or worse simply as a function of whether or not their party has control of the White House. Puzzle piece number 2 is where it starts getting a whole lot more interesting, because it begins to explain why and how that disconnection occurs. What if I said that ideological loyalty directly impairs your ability to understand basic reason? We all know that most people arguing about politics online feel like thick-headed morons, at least if you ask the people that disagree with them. But what if I said it's actually being studied scientifically? Before going further, today's video is brought to you by the longest running individual sponsor of the channel, and that is Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, virtual private network, and especially considering the modern political climate of aggressive internet age verification laws, which a lot of platforms and jurisdictions are embracing right now, VPNs are especially valuable at the moment and have a number of different uses, such as helping prevent certain types of phishing attacks, DNS tunneling, or DDoS attacks in particular, while
And also porn.
also helping to mitigate the data tracking and harvesting practices by all sorts of big tech companies. If you care
And also porn.
more about entertainment, which is fine, Surfshark unlocks additional content on streaming websites onto them by changing your geographic region, opening up additional options in your video library as a result of licensing agreements. Surfshark also gets around regional censorship, websites being blocked by the government, if you know what I mean. Happens more and more at the moment. And it helps protect your IP address with encryption, modification, etc.
It is okay to say, and you can use it to bypass country blocks on porn. Don't say you know what you mean. Tell them that you can do it. The internet is for porn, sir.
People often have concerns over privacy when it comes to VPNs, so just to make sure that I mention it, Surfshark does not keep logs. Third-party verified with a whole public report in tandem, which is one of the critical policies that a VPN needs to have. Also, they maintain what's called a warrant canary. Doesn't mean much to most people, but if you care about it, they have it. If you click the link down below, Surfshark...
That doesn't mean anything if you don't explain what a warrant canary is.
Which is one of the critical policies that a VPN needs to have. Also, they maintain what's called a warrant canary.
We, Surfshark, are committed to being transparent and taking full control of our service. Private information of our users has never been disclosed or seized, nor have we compromised or suffered a data breach. As of December 4th, 2024, Surfshark has received 0 national security letters, 0 gag orders, and 0 warrants from any government organization. To ensure your privacy and security, our VPN follows a strict no-logs policy. We don't monitor, log, or store your online activities with a VPN. So that's just them saying, I have a log that shows that since the date of this policy, we have never been asked by a company to do something. Seems simple. Seems simple and understandable.
Doesn't mean much to most people, but if you care about it, they have it. If you click the link down below, surfshark.com/echelon, and use the code echelon at checkout, you can get 4 extra months completely for free with a special pricing offer. Again, link down below, surfshark.com/echelon, coupon code echelon at checkout for an extra 4 months of the service for free. A big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the channel. Okay, back to it. This is a Swedish research paper right here titled, quote, Motivated Formal Reasoning, Ideological Belief Bias, and Syllogistic Reasoning Across Diverse Political Issues, end quote. And for anyone who isn't aware, a syllogism is the process where you draw some kind of third conclusion out of 2 related propositions. Example 1, all snakes are reptiles, combines with 2, all reptiles are cold-blooded, leading to, logically 3, all snakes are cold-blooded. Make sense? Well, it turns out when studying syllogistic reasoning skills for political issues, according to this research from Rutledge, a subdivision of the academic publishing company Taylor and Francis, we find that, quote, participants correctly evaluated more syllogisms and the correct response was congruent with their ideology, particularly on hot-button issues, asylum to refugees, climate change, gender-neutral education, and school marketization, end quote. However, more is actually a very noticeable difference in this case. Simply put, blind adherence to a political ideology impairs one's ability to think rationally. Obviously, I'm going to link all of these different studies down below, and yes, they come from a wide range of institutions, but let's move on to a third example published in Nature pertaining to 8 different countries this time, titled, quote, Dark Personalities in the Digital Arena, How Psychopathy and Narcissism Shape Online Political Participation.
The Dark Triad? What are you doing here? I was told that all the people that are inside of politics are rational, simple-minded, and honest people that would never use things against people like their personal hobbies, or their personal preferences, or their personal something.
End quote. This one's a little bit more tricky and it's rather long, but it can be very well summarized by, quote, individuals high in psychopathy and FOMO are consistently more likely to engage in online political activity. End quote. And further down, quote again, higher cognitive ability is uniformly associated with lower levels of online political participation. End quote. It's actually extremely well pronounced, by the way. People with low cognitive ability, as in reasoning, learning, attention, etc., and high rates of psychopathy, which means antisocial behavior, lack of empathy, manipulation, impulsivity, and aggression. People with low cognitive ability and high psychopathy are far, not slightly, far more likely to be participating in online politics, and those with relatively high cognition are less so. Hopefully it's beginning to make sense right now why it always feels like you're consistently arguing with idiots when it comes to online politics, because you are. But it gets even better, because our fourth and final example, our third trifecta research paper rather, is this one from Yale University scientist Dan N. Quote, "Motivated numeracy and enlightened self-government." Not exactly the most descriptive title, I would say, but when you drill down on what the study contains, it very much is enlightening. The focus of the research is a very simple numerical problem. 1,111 participants were questioned about their mathematical reasoning abilities and their political views, after which they were asked to interpret the results of a fictional scientific study, which looked like this right here. Quickly summarized for people that are only listening to the video and not watching,
Aiden moment.
it's a table of data showing the results of a skin cream being used to treat a rash. On taking the cream, 223 participants got better, while 75 got worse. And with the control group who didn't use the cream, 107 got better, while just 21 got worse. The simple explanation is percentages. The mathematically correct answer is that the skin cream does not work, because the proportion of those that got better versus those that got worse is actually superior in the control group. Absolute numbers-wise, it looks like the skincare works. In reality, it doesn't. You would be much better off simply not using the cream and waiting to get better without it. Here's the kicker, which I find to be absolutely insane. When they shifted the question, instead of using a benign concept like skin cream, and layered in high-tension, controversial, divisive political topics, participants began exhibiting dramatically reduced ability to use basic mathematics. When the premise was altered, now referring to concealed carry handguns and crime, they found that even those with superior mathematics skill began giving incorrect answers with overwhelming favoritism towards answers that reinforced their own existing political beliefs. Participants who were already pro-gun control as per existing ideology answered almost perfectly, that is, when the answer reinforced their idea that a concealed carry ban would lower crime. Yet, when the opposite was true, when the objectively correct answer from the table was that crime would go up after a ban as per the numbers, they much more frequently got it wrong. Inversely, those favoring Second Amendment protections and the right to carry firearms were far more consistently correct when the answer favored the idea of crime rising after a ban, yet they were wrong to a near ridiculous proportion when the numbers concluded that a ban lowered crime. Looking at the data in context, it's a perfect demonstration of how fanatical ideology and relentless commitment to a certain perspective of controversial political topics makes people significantly worse when it comes to critical thinking, basic reason, and even mathematics in this case.
Yes, it's an Aiden moment. Many people are bad at reading data. Many people are bad at reading purely scientific data. Add all of these things together and put a lot of opportunity for people to get shit wrong, and they're not only just going to get it wrong, they're going to get so goddamn wrong that you have to assume that there's something bigoted at their core. Because that's how people are. It's only normal. It's not new. It's very fucking stupid, too. Because it's very hard to tell who's doing it on purpose and who's being just simply a person who doesn't understand math by those numbers per capita. Per capita continues to whoop the ass of many particular groups, but this time it's not just individuals of a particular complexion or a particular age group. Anybody can fall in this rake. And that's mostly because they're not supposed to be reading these kind of studies or using them.
We see what we want to see, even when the facts of the matter openly contradict our politics. Bringing it full circle now, it feels like you're arguing with the lowest common denominator of humanity when you engage in the world of online politics, because you are, except you might be one of them too. Politics is capable of warping our cognitive abilities in a way that we don't even perceive. And if you factor in the reality that online political discourse is highly populated with those that already have low cognitive ability, high psychopathy, because that demographic is more attracted to the activity in the first place, what you have is a perfect incubation space for the disease of politics. However, some good news, some very good news in my opinion, is that unlike the world of dystopian technology or governmental overreach, awareness, big air quotes, awareness, actually does help immediately solve the problem here. Using myself as an example on this one, I have routinely engaged in the world of online politics to the detriment of my own mental health at times. But having done all this research for myself, I will most likely always have a little voice in the back of my mind, making it much more difficult for me to continue doing so. I will now
And that's actually the goal. I'll let you finish, though.
always be questioning whether or not I am that lowest common denominator. Because I know how warped and twisted perceptions can be. And I'll be much more apprehensive of spending my time arguing with people when I know that to do so makes me, myself, the low cognition, high psychopathy moron.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the answer to the question, what can you do, is. The easiest thing that you can do when preparing yourself and keeping yourself safe from the psychopathy of morons is to remember the human. It is possible that anybody can become stupid. It is possible that anyone can become short-sighted. And it is possible that anybody can become very, very confident in their short-sightedness. Because it's very easy to forget that not everybody is starting from the same standpoint. And because of standpoint theory, as long as you have a person who thinks that they're right, then they will be very confident in saying that they are right even when they are wrong. And they are unwilling to change whether they are right or wrong if the only thing that they have to go off of for right and wrong is, I feel like I'm right, and you are so stupid, it can't possibly be that you're right. Because it's easier to make fun of somebody who has the wrong information and to say that they're a wrong thinker than to consider that you might actually be the odd man out. It is a hard thing to consider. I'm not throwing that one away. It is a hard thing to consider, but it is a part of the job. That is the goal. That is everything. The job is to sit there and say, I don't know everything. And because I don't know everything, there's a chance that I might learn something. When you consider that you don't always have the answers and that observing someone in their natural habitat will lend you towards being capable of answering the problem and solving the solution, then the sky's the goddamn limit. Nothing prevents you from solving the problems. You just become capable of recognizing how many things are responsible for this reality that you put yourself in. And then you just act accordingly. It's some of the simplest shit that nobody can understand. Because it always starts from the standpoint of, you must be crazy. You just listen and believe. For most of them. Because that's usually all they ever had. You just listen and believe to this opinion, and it will be divined that you're right. Even if that person is dead ass wrong. Because who's going to prove that you're wrong? Somebody on the other team? Ha! There you have. They're wrong thinkers. How do you know? Because I know. But how do you know? Because I know. The circular reasoning continues in a loop until the other person decides, actually, maybe I don't know everything. And maybe the first thing that I can do is consider that because I don't know everything, that I could be wrong. And by breaking the loop, the other guy has to consume and consider, maybe I should consider the middle. And maybe I don't actually know everything. And on top of not knowing everything, maybe I should be a lot more patient. Maybe I should also not be so quick with my words. Maybe I should also do this. Maybe I should also do that. Maybe I should also do this. Maybe I should also do that. And then before you realize it, everybody's able to sit down at a table and have a conversation. And that's what it's meant to be about. Whether it'll always be like that, it remains to be seen. Because it's easy to say that. It's another thing to do it. It's very easy to say, why don't we all just try being nice to each other? It's an entirely different thing to then be nice to each other. Because in theory, anybody can do it. But because nobody's actually sat down and said, actually, here's how we're going to do this, then they all say, well, it's impossible. because nobody's willingly going to do it. So you kind of have to be the first one to make the move. Otherwise, nobody else is going to make the change. Because they're waiting for everybody else to do something else. And it continues from there. Weird shit. Sure. But that's how the cookie crumbles. At least in terms of the things that matter. However, I put things that matter in the categories.
My goal in making this video, all of this is to say, is that I hope I won't be the only one. And for anyone who made it this far, all the way to the end, I probably won't be, because you can't unring a bell. Once you know something, you know. That's it. Hopefully this video makes a difference.
Well, that's not exactly true. You can always forcibly make yourself unlearn something. Just because I know something doesn't mean that I cannot then give license to forget myself, which is what people keep doing. That's why the violence keeps continuing, and why it keeps finding itself new avenues upon which to grow. Other people are saying, I know that this is how this is going to work, and I know that this and this and this is how this works, but I have chosen to specifically ignore this fact because I want to antagonize so and so and so and so. It usually works out. Because some people are irrational and are evil. And that's part of the evil. You know better, but you don't give a damn. And in not giving a damn, people follow along. And with them following along, the behavior continues. Even if the behavior itself should be changed and corrected, because the person in question should know better.
Difference in a world of hypercharged online political disagreements where people don't even think through a full sentence to the end. But even if not, I gave it a shot. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. If you're a sponsor, of course, Surfshark, locals and Patreon, monthly memberships, merch, social media, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop there. As always, thank you all for watching, question everything, and have a nice night.
Thank you, Head. Things got worse for me as a retail worker because all the worst customers, the one that act that I can behave them, are self-reporting Trump supporters who won't get Trump out of the mouse. Often when I was being taught how to be a coach, and I had to explain to players, and then eventually when I started applying this to life and I had to try to get through to people, there was this concept that we learned when explaining concepts such as marrying yourself to an idea. The idea itself is simple. You latch yourself onto the thing. My camera's askew. You latch yourself onto a thing, and by latching yourself onto the thing, you adopt the idea that you are stuck to it. So, married to bot lane means that you believe that your job is to sit there and do nothing else but be in that place. Apply this to married to the job. You believe that all of the things you're responsible for and everything that you are is tied to your job security and to your job. Therefore, you can't do anything outside your job. You have to be in your job because that's what you believe your best value is. Marrying yourself to politics becomes a form of cult-like behavior that approaches sycophant and zealotry, especially when it's tied to a purity spiral, because belief of the idea and belief in the tribe is also access to the materials of the tribe. Denounce a political figure in the viewpoint of somebody who has material access to punishment within the tribe system. Heresy, equaling removal from said group for not believing and being a part of the Good Boy Club, whichever side is considered the Good Boy Club, at that moment. I've noticed Karen-like behavior from all types of people, in all types of groups. But I would have to say I've seen a lot more aggression in liberals and Trump voters equally. it mostly has to do with which one believes that their excuse for forgetting themselves as a good person is more believable than the people witnessing the attack or the event. So, in that way, a person who is extremely hateful, extremely bigoted, extremely unwilling to change, and ultimately finding themselves in a position where they are acting like a Karen, are individuals that they themselves believe that there is an inherent value that they are promised. Now, we all know that the customer is right in the matter of taste, but that does not mean that they are always right at all times. People who get that adage wrong usually are behooving themselves to be mini tyrants that have never truly understood the value. Another one. Hiss, hiss. I smell a bot. Hiss. Those that are behooving to believe they are granted some type of excuse that allows them to act shitty to another person, regardless of whether or not they're doing a job or not, is endemic of the fact that they believe that they have a right to behave a certain way that condemns them to this behavior. So, a Karen goes into a retail, she bitches at the retail employee, she says, you should do what I say without question. I can't believe I get this kind of service here. I go to this place all the time. Da 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 da. That is a person that is married to the idea that they are entitled to something just because they are a part of a group. In this case, the group is the customer base. In the other cases, the group is the political side. Political sides, as they are endemic to believe that they are given the choice to do it because their ideas are based around the value structure and the value system and the value judgment they give to themselves as a part of that group. So, the same way we can make fun of leftists for being so far left that they have become extremists, the same thing applies to the right, and so on, and inversely. So, yeah, have extremely, I thought this was America types be just as crazy as the, I want to call your supervisor. Ma'am, I am the supervisor. Well, I want your supervisor that's above you types too. The thing that they have in common, outside of political identity, is a belief that they have access to a power that is granted to them by access to that identity group. Which is why the most dangerous thing you can do, and the most effective thing you can do, at least if you want to defang them, is to remove them from said group. If, for example, you take a Karen, and you take a Karen away from the identity, which is the customer base. Excuse me, ma'am, you can't talk to my customer like that. I can talk whatever way I want. I've been a customer of this business for 10 years. Blah 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 blah. I want to get X employee and X manager. Get them on the phone. I know them personally. The easiest way to counter that: ban the person from the franchise, not just the store, the franchise. If it's a Walmart, ban them from that Walmart and ban them from every Walmart in their town. Congratulations. You have now defanged a person who specializes in harassing people because they believe that they can never be punished for it. The caveat and downside of this, however, is the same thing that can happen to someone like myself. You end up giving them an opportunity where that person then can take that story and then sell it and spin it somewhere else to get assistance and help. So you get the Emmett Till effect. Help, help, daddy, help, daddy, help. This black boy is staring at me and smiling at me. This N-word is trying to rape my daughter. Come on, boys, go get my hammer. And so all of a sudden, a game of telephone becomes the worst day of your life, if not the last day of your life. Sometimes this works out for the best. So, Leo Frank getting tooled up one good time by the Ku Klux Klan, because even the Klan doesn't believe this black man is going to brutally rape somebody. Or, if you want a more topical example, the former frontman of the Lost Prophets getting murdered in jail because he's a nonce, and street rules say if you have bad papers and that you've done something on the outside that the people inside a prison would punish you for death for, you might as well be signing a death warrant the second you put your penis inside of a young child. It's the same shit in the same group. Because the idea is ingrained in their head that they can only receive justice from a certain group. Except the fact that they're fucking not. But that's the beauty of it, right? The power comes from the idea that they're on the good boy team. And that's why it's called forgetting yourself. And it's also why the concept of remember the human was supposed to be so important. It was literally everything to the political group. To the point that it was a part of Reddit. Because I wouldn't keep getting this TOS connection to Reddit TOS Remember the Human if it didn't already exist. It was a part of the term of service. Whether or not I can find an archive of that webpage remains to be seen. Internet archive. Because I have the link, and I know it was there, and I know I searched it last within this year. But any copy of it is gone. There we go. I at least want to be able to find the examples of it. And the best example I can actually find is this example that still lives as a blog source, but not a part of the original TOS blog source. Right here. This is the only version of it that still exists on this Reddit as a part of subreddit rules. Hi Reddit, Cupcake here. I wanted to bring up an important reminder about how folks interact with people online. It is not a problem that exists solely on Reddit, but the internet as a whole, and the world as a whole. The internet is a wonderful tool for interacting with people from all walks of life. The anonymity of it can afford it to make it easy to forget that really on the other side of the screens and keyboards we're all people. Living, breathing people who have lives and goals and fears, have favorite TV shows and books and methods of breeding Pokemon, and each and every last one of us has opinions. Sure, those opinions might differ from your own, but that's okay. People are entitled to their opinions. When you argue with people in person, do you say any of the hate-filled and vitriolic statements you see people slinging around online? Probably not. Please think about this next time you're in a situation that makes you want to lash out. And if you wouldn't say it to the face, perhaps you don't say it online. Try to be courteous to others. See someone having a bad day, give them a compliment, or ask a thoughtful question that might make their day better. Did someone reply to your comment with valuable insights or something that cheered you up? Send them a quick thanks, letting them know you appreciate the comment. So I ask you, the next time a user picks a fight with you, or you get the urge to harass another user because of something that's typed on the keyboard, please remember the human. The simple concept of applying this to the world is supposed to be the application of the golden rule. But really it's not. It's the application of the hierarchies that become a part of the game theory that makes social theory. Because it's the social contract in action. Specifically, the punishment part of the social contract. Nowhere in society has it ever been normalized that a person should ever be able to exact violence on someone using archaeological grievance studies. And really, archaeological grievance studies is just an evolution of Karen-like behavior. The best example of this was Target-Tory, where because a man thought that he was entitled to the price of a display model, that he thought he could get an electric toothbrush for $1, decided that he was going to shame a woman for the crime of this, and ended up becoming a lolcow that then afforded this woman the attention that would then get her the monies given from people willing to help her, the ability to not only leave that job, but upgrade that job and have a paid vacation away from the stress caused by that male Karen acting like a lolcow and actively demonstrating behavior that they had already demonstrated before at other places. It just so happened to be that in that moment, when he tried it at Target, like he tried to at Dairy Queen, and he tried to everywhere else. I remember his first name is Mike, very good his last name, but we all know who Targatori is, so if you go find the archaeological photos of it, you can probably pull up the person, because I know he still uses Twitter. He had done it at Burger King, he had done it at KFC, he had done it at Dairy Queen, and he would always post the location and the store number and the name, along with the receipt. All of the shit that comes along with that behavior, and them believing that they can just harass you into doing what they want, is the same level of put the fucking fries in the bag mentality and the dance monkey dance mentality that comes with, I don't want to hear your opinions, I want you to provide me entertainment and service. It is an inherent problem that is core to humanity. Because there's no reason for a person to behave that way. Especially if what they want is for the person to understand where they're coming from. It is inherently inhumane. Because not only are you putting a person under extreme duress and stress, but you're also expecting them to behave completely rationally. And most of us don't respond well to threats. I know I don't respond well to threats. Because I will intentionally flip the table if somebody tries to threaten me with power they think they have. In fact, most social behavior in most groups can be disseminated down to they thought they had power, so I demonstrated that they didn't. It's all a part of that social contract. Especially if you are in the position of the one who's supplying the resource that is given the value judgment. It's why there's no such thing as bad employees, outside of bad employees that are obviously bad and lazy, but bad management. Because the same way you can have managers putting pressure on people, you can have customers putting pressure on people. Because the idea that this person can hold the key to your future is part of the solution of the marrying yourself to the concept. Because you agreed to do a job, and you agreed to provide value to a company or to a business in order to receive a paycheck. And yet, there are those that believe that they can step between you and that business contract that, in purposes of any kind of other contract, would be torturous interference. But somehow, because they're upset that they, what did you say, can't find the bread, and then could call ICE on you, that they believe that they have the ability to entrench upon your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, at the detriment of your life and to the benefit of their service. Because you're my slave in this moment, therefore do what I want or I'll punish you. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. The only thing that improves this moral folly is the fact that most of the people who usually behave that way are already people who demonstrate the reason why remembering the human is important, because they already stopped caring about people. Inherently, the kind of person who immediately reaches for this kind of power is a tyrant, because they have never considered diplomacy. Diplomacy isn't necessarily the sign of a person who is weak and doesn't have the tools to exact violence directly in the form of political power or persuasion. It is usually a person who understands the value of consideration in conversation, who usually remembers the human. It's easier to talk to somebody and get them to understand you than it is for you to try to physically violate them. In lieu of physical violation, you have verbal violation. And in lieu of physical action, you have actions that carry weight, such as offboarding someone from a business, firing them, for something that isn't a direct offense. Which is ironically exactly where firing this person becomes vibes comes in. It's very secondary nature, because you're avoiding the actual reason why you're doing something. If you wanted to fire somebody at a job because, well, they're a bad worker, they have bad work etiquette, they're not providing value to the business, and they are inherently not delivering on the promises, and they're making no attempt to improve, becomes, well, I want to remove this person because they have bad vibes. It feels off. one of these sounds more rational than the other, and the other one is just bullshit that you made up because I don't like looking at their face. It depends on the group, and it depends on the factor of the group, but it all boils down to the exact same solution, especially if you consider it to be your responsibility. In truth, you could remove the political affiliation of the problem, and you would still have the same dialectic and the same mechanics of social behavior. Period. It's just that the political angle takes it out of the realm of something that most people would understand and puts it into a realm that is considered ignoble and unknowable. Because, how dare you talk back to me like that? How dare you criticize me, sir? Don't you know there's a war going on? Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. How can you be able to call me fat? You can't call me fat. That's fat phobia. Don't you know you can't say fat phobia when there's a genocide happening in Gaza? It's so stupid, man. It's so hard. It's so hard. Especially, it's so hard to take serious when it happens. Because if you start looking at the political insults that come as a part of that, when someone says, "We don't want you, go back to your country, when you're leaving," you of course have to look at them and say, "Sir, I'm mixed. How much of me do you want to leave? You want 26% of me to leave? You want 31% of me to leave? You want 2%? You want 2 parts of me to leave? Okay, done. I'm still 3/5 a person. What do we do with that, sir? It's considered illegal." There's various ways that you can make it funny, and ultimately, the person would still be mad because they would still be angry, but they're no longer angry at the thing they were angry about. Now they're angry about an entirely different thing that has nothing to do with the value of their anger towards the request. And that just leads to constant fucking headaches. Especially in the service industry. Especially if you're a person who's working in service. Shoutouts to all my Latinas. Shoutouts to all my Latinas working as a waiter. Shoutouts to all my Latinas and white girls that have been approached by men that have specifically given them tips. Specifically because they find them attractive. You the real ones. You smart. You very smart. You make sure to get the money before they leave the table. Kappa. Anyways. I need better gloves. That's a crossbow starter. Alright. Ouch. Yeah, it's always funny whenever this particular kind of talking point comes up. Especially when it comes up to slaves and slavery and reparations. Because then it's a never-ending headache. Anywho. Next. Hello, no fun. Ed, tell us more about your content.
I didn't see you there. What am I reading, you ask? Well, just one of the best-selling books on Amazon right now. With millions of sales and almost 20,000 five-star reviews, this book has been absolutely blowing up, especially on TikTok, or BookTok, as the kids call it. Thousands and thousands of women in particular have been raving about this piece of literature. What piece of literature is it, you may ask? Well, Morning Glory Milking Farm, of course. A popular romance novel about a young woman down on her luck who does what every young woman does when facing financial struggle. She starts an OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. She wouldn't degrade herself like that. She gets a job jerking off monsters.
That's right, the Morning Glory Milking Farm.
I have been reading Morning Glory Milking Farm since last night, and I'm obsessed.
This was a good time. It did not.
There is something we can notice about the phrenology of the women here. There's something we can notice about the physiognomy of the women here. It's on the tip of my tongue. Truly, the white women, they're a crop. We can harvest them for children, we can harvest them for food, we can harvest them for entertainment. It never stops being relevant. White women, wow, wow, wow.
Disappoint.
If this book is trash, then I am a f***ing raccoon. Give me all of the garbage.
Get your eyeballs on this, because it is so good.
I regret to inform you that there is a new epidemic. An epidemic that many have yet to discuss. And that epidemic is female gooners. Now, for those of you unaware, gooner is internet slang for someone addicted to porn. And smut is slang for dark romance novels, otherwise known as porn. Many correct about the dangers of porn addiction with men, how it can destroy their lives and their relationships, and most men know the material they consume is weird. That is why they are ashamed of it. That is why they delete their browser history. That is why they go incognito mode. But these
I don't do none of that shit. I do what any content creator does. I create a porn channel, and I collect it. I've got my badge. Do you got your badge?
These bitches freaks out here. They display their smut openly in bookstores. They proudly pose in front of their smut collections. They discuss their smut openly on TikTok. They go to smut conventions and get choked out by 9-foot-tall shirtless wendigos. Now, I know what you are thinking. Shoo. Collections. They discuss their smut openly on TikTok. They go to smut conventions and get choked out by 9-foot-tall shirtless wendigos.
I wouldn't consider that brave. However, click on the goddamn image. Oh my god. Thank you. I don't know. I think we have to give this one a pass. It's very clear that the guy underneath the mask is hot, so I think this falls to the hot nerd principle. Women are more than happy to be fondled by an attractive guy as long as they know that the attractive guy is attractive and also conventionally attractive. Unironically so. Nerds are super cool as long as that nerd is Henry Cavill and or, goddamn, I'm targeting so many people I know right now. Unless that man is Henry Cavill and or Jonathan Majors and or that one geeky guy that was that one Russian from Stranger Things, and or my favorite nerdcore, or my favorite geek creator who happens to already be partnered and or married, therefore making them an acceptable, attractive example of people. I mean, like, I don't know how else to phrase that. Because, like, I don't think this is something that applies to the group, Because, to call out the point that I was making before, there's a certain type of woman that explicitly likes this. And you can see it in the picture. Frat! Talk about with a P. With a leg black from the back, I want to see. They're all like this. Now, of course, we can always ask the question, why are they like this? You know the answer. They're wallflowers. Most. Not all. Most. But the ones upon which it applies to, they are in fact that. In fact, the demographic of women who have a body type like E.L. James are exactly the women for whom which book smut was written. Stephanie Fire also applies to this as well. Although, she's a little bit different with her freaking Mormon ass. And I'm not exactly sure where you would classify the castes. Because PC caste is the mother of Christian. And Christian, when I met her, while her mother is white, Kristen is half white. She black as fuck. And was already married at the time that her mother chose to take her daughter's dating experiences and turned it into a dark southern romance. And for the same people that would have been attracted to the idea of all of these different young adult novels that spanned from Divergent to Beautiful Creatures to Mortal Instrument to City of Bones, or the Shadowhunter novel series. I believe it's the City of Bones. Yes. And The Fault in Our Stars. Technically, Emilia Clarke's work, Me Before You, is more adult-oriented, but it's still the same thing. Same thing with Jennifer Lawrence and I can't remember his name in Silver Lining Playbook. All of those examples of stories specifically tune to the female dialectic. With the example of stories that have yet to be put into young adult context, but appeal to the young male, would be things like The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd, which summoned itself from the ether of my mind not earlier this year when I was trying to remember it. Or Sprout, for the queer/young twink males. Or, for the geeks like myself, An Abundance of Catherines. Which is to say, the same demographics and groups that would have been targeted in the 80s and /90s by 21 Jump Street and Degrassi and what was the other one? It was literally on the tip of my tongue. Fame, and then the remake of Fame. All of those people, all of those groups, all of those demographics, they all center around the exact same concept, which is usually a self-insert character that allows you to forget yourself and become a part of that universe. You could technically say that this was the case for Harry Potter, but when you start talking about smut, men have a very specific kink, and it's to be desired. It's not to get slutted and gutted. It's to be desired. They want the girl that is looking at you seductively like you're the only guy in the world while her mouth is open and your thumb is in her cheek. It's hard to explain. There's an image I'm referring to right now. It's like one side is a porn image, the other side is that example in that image I just described, but your hand is around her neck and she is holding your hand around her neck. They want to feel wanted. That's what men want. Meanwhile, the normal fantasy of these women is exactly what you're seeing. And it's preferable that the target of their desire is completely uncharacteristically removed from identity. This can only happen when you put a mask on it. That's why there was an entire trend, and still technically is, about women being attracted to their boyfriends wearing a ghost killer face. Because it's an otherization. It taps into the kink of non-con. And the less said about non-con porn, the better. Think ugly bastard NTR shit is weird? Nigga, that shit gets dark really fast. I know that it's fantasy, but bro, fantasy, some of these women, I don't know. I've seen and I've heard and I've experienced and I've even been the target of some of these people's fantasies and stories. And I'm just saying, from experience, I felt uncomfortable. Carl felt uncomfortable fulfilling the action that I was asked to do. Because the depravity goes a lot deeper than most people are willing to admit for their fantasy. So the picture we're looking at is very safe, right? This image itself is safe. It's safe horny. It's slutty enough. Her titties are up and out. Attractive male touching her. In public. Memorable picture. Meanwhile, the books in the store featured explicitly for the social consistency of, girl, you won't believe the next book I bought.
That is why they are ashamed of it. That is why they delete their browser history. That is why they go incognito mode. But these bitches freaks out here. They display their smut openly in bookstores. They proudly...
The one that I particularly find to be the most interesting, especially since it was the basis upon which a person decided to tell me that I couldn't be friends with Bass FCZ, because I just described what women were doing online, is the posing with the stuff. The posing with the collection of what effectively amounts to DVD porn books. Of all of these examples that if it was porn, would be male stars railing the shit out of faceless female characters. It's like deeplush.com. And it's just your selection of male models. From Johnny Sins to Mr. Magic. Pick your man. Pick his cock. Pick his assortment of muscles. Pick your scene. And start up your roses, girls. You got a friend. Hell, even as I'm referencing it, the amount of shit that women will do just on TikTok alone while bragging about finding books like this. And they're always, sometimes, legitimately just putting their bodies on display. But they're using a filter. Like, transforming it into looking like art. I would say that it goes a lot past the fact that these particular women have no social experience. I think at this point we can just say that society has become so gynocentric to being excusable when it's a woman that there are people that just explicitly abuse the fact that women can get away with it, and are just openly happy to look for that attention in any way possible. Because this is the only way in which they can really cut loose. And that's what makes it fucking worrisome. Because since they're so used to getting away with it, nobody really is ready to say, can you not? Men at least have shame. These women, on top of having no shame, just la, la, la.
Pose in front of their smut collections. They discuss their smut openly on TikTok. They go to smut conventions and get choked out by 9-foot-tall shirtless wendigos. Now, I know what you are thinking. Shoo, isn't this the pot calling the kettle degenerate? Yes. Yes, it is. But have you considered it takes one to truly know one? You see, women are strange, fascinating creatures. For centuries, men have tried to figure us out. Our mood is affected by the tides and the moon. We bleed for 5 days and don't die. By painting my face, I can instantly shapeshift from a 4 to a 6. We are truly mysterious, magical creatures. But one of the most mysterious aspects of women to men is our sexuality. You see, us women are not like those disgusting moids. No, we are sophisticated. We are evolved. We don't watch videos of strangers slapping their sweaty bodies together. No, we read about strangers slapping their sweaty bodies together. It's different, okay? You don't understand. It's okay when we do it. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the rapidly growing popularity of dark romance on TikTok and the recent dark romance convention that ended in disaster. Let's take a break from all this depressing political news and talk about something silly. Not that those political things aren't important, trust me, they are. You should be keeping up with politics and the news when you can. I know it can be difficult to do, but fear not. I have an app for that. So before
I find it strange that this is the pivot that she chose to do, because honestly, I feel like it would be easy. I feel like it would be really easy. Because, like, if she wants a really bad topic, like a really, really bad topic, Shu could look into the amount of women that go online and brag about girls' trips, where all the girls have cheated on the trip and came back pregnant. That's not something I don't think many content creators are ready to dive into, because as soon as you dive into that, I think it's the signal for people who would be like, oh my god, this guy's getting into Redville content. Because it's been an open secret. Because what was that group called? Chelsea and the other woman from that material that was covered by The Advocate, specifically featuring the destruction of that group and that cheating spouse woman. Groups like that specialize in that type of content, where they usually use the book talk woman as a recruiting mechanism and a gateway to getting them to be involved deeper and deeper and deeper in the stuff that they're doing. I don't think many people are prepared for that conversation on that topic. Because it gets nasty. It gets nasty. And it's not subtle. It's about as blunt as the Instagram models that were going to Saudi Arabia and they were getting pooped and shitted on and had to consume the defecate of Saudi princes and horses and camels. Not pleasant. I suppose that's the topic for another day.
Before we get into this video, let's quickly give a shout out to our sponsor, Ground News. Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers an easy way to read news from all across the political spectrum, from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of political bias that helps you understand the full story and makes sure you're getting both sides. One of my favorite features on Ground News is the blind spot feature, which shows you news stories that have been covered by one side of the political aisle and ignored by the other. For example, here's a story about how Gavin Newsom is signing a bill to give 800,000 Uber and Lyft drivers in California the right to unionize. Pretty cool. Rare Newsom W. 12 news sources covered this, 7 were left-wing and 0 were right-wing, because the right is covering a far more important topic. Harvard hires drag performer Lahore Vagistan as a visiting professor. 21 news sources covered this, 20 were right-wing, 1 was left-wing. A country divided, truly. Ground News also makes it very easy to compare headlines, so you can see how political bias completely reframes a story. For example, talking about how Trump has been posting a bunch of those sombrero memes, and the New York Post says, White House official behind Trump's hilarious meme war on Dems revealed. And then a left-wing outlet covers the same story, like, as the shutdown continues, a checked-out Trump posts childish memes. Wildly different vibes going on here. I have been using Ground News since 2021. It is one of my favorite apps. Like, it is my go-to, like, when I wake up. I, like, check Twitter, and then I check Ground News, like, immediately. But don't just take my word for it. Even the Nobel Peace Center called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. Best of all, I am currently offering 40% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to access all their amazing features. And it's only $5 a month, which is like basically the price of a coffee nowadays. So go to ground.news/shoe or use the QR code here on screen, or use the link in the video description. So thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right? So let's get back to the video. Book Talk is a very interesting place, and any book fans out there know how it has absolutely destroyed the hobby of literature and just flooded it with absolute slop. Spicy slop. You see, books on TikTok are not rated by how well they are written or how good the characters are. No,
they're rated by how hard you nut it!
Are rated by the spice. And what does spice mean? It means porn. Spice level is very important to book talkers. How much spice does a book have? What are the spiciest books they have ever read? How spicy is the book they're currently reading? Spice, spice, spice. The spiciest book going viral on Book Talk lately is none other than Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. Violet is a typical down-on-her-luck millennial, mid-20s, overeducated, and drowning in debt. Oh my god! She's just like me! On the verge of moving into her parents' basement, when a lifeline appears in the form of a very unconventional job in the neighboring Cambric Creek. She has no choice but to grab it with both hands. Morning Glory Farm offers full-time hours, full benefits, and generous pay with no experience needed. There's only one catch. The clientele is grade A certified prime beef with the manly, meaty endowments to... Okay.
Morning Glory Milking Farm is actually a profound critique of late-stage capitalism and toxic masculinity. In this text, we see that the tingling sensation in her coochie is actually the tingling sensation of a Marxist revolution.
This is every fucking BreadTube video to me, dude. This is every Jack Saint video. So I actually read the book myself, and I'm not gonna lie. The 19th Amendment needs to be abolished. So, like I said, the story is basically this millennial named Violet, and she gets a job basically working at Big Pharma in Narnia, where they harvest Minotaur milk to make Viagra for human males. And I read the whole thing. Probably gonna be put on some kind of watch list. But listen, this is my job, okay? I'm not out here like selling feet pics or something. What I do is far more dignified and normal. Now, let's take a look at some of these notes I wrote. Let's see. Big dick and balls. At one point, she says the term, and I quote, the seam of his sack. So I'm reading this, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, okay, he probably has, like, a human head, right? He probably, like, looks something like this, like, you know, just a dude with, like, horns. Then I see the official artwork. That's a cow. Bro is a cow. Bro is a straight up cow. In a few parts they're being intimate and it will be like, his hooves clip-clopped. My hooves will tear up your sheets. And it's like, I'm sorry, his what? At one point she describes kissing him. And I swear to God, it was more disgusting than anything else described in this book. She's like describing how big and wide his mouth is and how big and
wide his mouth is? AO3 moment?
like slimy his tongue is. She's like describing this shit and you're just like, that's a cow. I mean, we are at a solid 5.5 on the Barbeau scale here. This is dangerous territory, folks. She also f***s his ass. She f***s the cow's ass. By the way, if you want an uncensored version of this video and all my videos, Patreon. Go to Patreon, become a member. All members get the uncensored version of every video, so you can hear me talking about s***ing and f***ing and f***ing a cow's ass. Is that what you freaks want? Anyway, I like how in this fantasy world student loans still exist. Like, we can imagine a world with minotaurs and humans in a relationship, but we can't imagine a world without student loans.
Why isn't the student loan in the form of sexual favoritism? I'm pretty sure there's a book that already has done that, but there are layers here. Layers of encrusted sebum. Just building and building and building and building until it finally explodes all over some young maiden's face or something. I'm pretty sure that would be in there. Pretty sure.
Sad. Oh, and he has one of those bull rings, like the nose ring theory septum rings. And in this world, that means, like, you're married, but apparently he's divorced. The man is divorced. This is a divorced cow with a cow ex-wife. The lore is deep, folks. The funniest part, though, has to be when they go on a date. I need to just read this to you. When the bill arrived, she attempted to pull a handful of carefully folded bills from her wristlet before he stopped her. No, that's absolutely not happening. Put that away. She'd not thought about it until the day after their first dinner together, realizing that in mortification that she ought to have attempted to pay her half. What kind of feminist are you? She asked herself. She couldn't remember the last time she'd been out and hadn't paid for her half, including her coffee date with Carson Tinsley. She had come prepared that night, several weeks of her tips smoothed and tucked into her wristlet. But I didn't even offer to pay half the other night and shouldn't have. Violet, if the commanding rumble of his voice hadn't silenced her. The heat of his hand dropping to her knee would've. I don't want you to feel that you don't have any agency here. I might be the one giving all the orders, but you hold all the cards. Your comfort is the only thing that counts right now. And if I overstep, I want you to know you can tell me so. But that's not happening. Don't think I'm unaware we're at different points in our careers. You can say no, you can say you don't want to see me again, you can tell me to stop coming to the farm when you're working. It's dinner, not a down payment of your time. But I'm in a position to comfortably spoil someone. So when you're with me, I'm spoiling you. End of story. She was a good feminist, she told herself, and she definitely couldn't be bought. But if he had suggested at that moment that he would have appreciated a blowjob, she would have fallen face first on his cock with an open mouth without a shred of hesitation.
I'm disgusted. And it's very hard to do that, chat. It's very hard to disgust me.
Inside every woman, there are two wolves. Or two bulls. The strong, independent girl boss and the submissive, doting housewife. And in the presence of a masculine man, or a farm animal, she will fold like a lawn chair and instantly return to factory settings.
It's dinner, not a down payment for your time. But I'm in a position to comfortably spoil someone, so when you're with me, I'm spoiling you. End of story.
I said, okay, bye.
No. The only reason why I'm internally laughing is because this validates the point of how I make the jokes I make. Okay? Behold with your eyes, as I open the picture wider and actually get a better definition. Behold with your eyes the prey upon which my channel gave me my name. Witness it! Witness it!
Highlighted that paragraph for myself. Someone, so when you're with me, I'm spoiling you. End of story.
I said, okay,
I highlighted that paragraph for myself.
It is like playing an actual IRL dating sim. It's like playing DNA Angel Sim Girls. Living cheat sheets. Living cheat sheets. Why wouldn't people end up going towards and finding themselves with women like this? Granted, there are a lot more that are more socially active with their particular likes and dislikes. But unironically, white women. White women. White women. It's not an insult if it's true. It's not an insult if it's true. It's not their fault. It's like a question that Aiden asked yesterday on Twitter. Why would there be women that give the idea that women that are in relationships with men who want to date them after they have children are somehow going to be abusive men? And it's because they want those women to have to compete for the same men as those women, telling them that they would just be abused by those people because they're looking for good partners. Is it women like this who have a fault that they giggle at these things? No. They're normal. Like anybody. For these women, this is their Bible black. They wish to be Manasseh. Okay? That's all it is. That's all it is. But it's important to take advantage of this time and to realize we were right. We were right. Especially the niggas. We were right. I'm guessing these people did a good beam flick when a dark-skinned female got sex from a dark god with a bat-like wings? Yes. I think the kind of content that you could find on AO3 could possibly be more debaucherous than the work that you'd end up finding in most of these books inside of Barnes & Nobles. If we're going by the category of what would be considered crazy and wild versus what's tame, doujins and hentais would probably still be the top of the ladder. Then in the middle, you would have these books. And then below them is the trashier versions of those books. Clearly Chuck Tingle and people like him that create urban fantasy hood trap are closer to being more like a comedic slapstick than like a serious story. So, criticizing the work of something that is comparative to Liddell Park would be an example. Now, Liddell wrote his with the intention of being considered a part of that Chuck Tingle-esque experience. So, it's less designed to titillate you, and it's more designed to make you react in cringy laughter, which is a part of the goal of the fun. Whereas these books are specifically written so that a woman gets off to them. And usually are written by females themselves. The only other genre that has this level of explosive growth is sissy cuckdom stories and NTR cuckdom stories, told from the perspective of the women. Let that knowledge sit with you.
Clean up aisle 5. So that's what I thought of it. But what did other people think of it? What are the reviews on this book? This book has a 4.1 on Amazon with 21,000 ratings and a 3.6 on Goodreads with nearly 60,000 ratings. Let's just read some random ones here. Hear me out. Hear me out. A milking good time. Sweet and creamy. The spice is spicing. I was very leery of starting this because I thought it was just going to be porn. The plot is pretty good. The plot? Please. This is like the new, I read Playboy for the articles. Like, sure you do. This book could kill a Victorian child. 5 stars. I'll never look at a jug of milk the same. I think I'm lactose intolerant now. So that happened. Our eyes will never see the gates of heaven. 1 star. Not a helpful guide. This book failed to teach me how to milk a cow, and now my family has no food for the winter. 1 star. Accidentally ordered while on pain medication after an operation. Gave this to my mom as a joke gift for Christmas. You what? Lesai. Why can't human males be more like this? Tall, rich, and handsome are no longer enough, boys. Now you have to be a 9-foot-tall creature from Greek mythology with a 13-inch dick. I never want to hear from another person about how they read 100 books in a year if this is the kind of slop they are consuming. Well, Ronald, man detected, this isn't for you. This is for women. So take your ass back to Barely Legal Babysitter 5 or whatever the f you watch that is so morally superior than this. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone, okay? God bless America. It's great to live in a country where I can casually enjoy cozy erotica about a young woman who milks her way to financial security and true love with a minotaur. This is what freedom looks like, and I intend to fully enjoy it before the Supreme Court takes this right away next. If this is what freedom looks like, I'm really rethinking my stance on freedom, not gonna lie. Maybe we should have less of it. All I know is if Donald Trump takes the monster plan, we are going to make 2020 look like a picnic, okay? Bulk matters. Oh my god. Edit that out. Editor, edit that out. Women are gonna be picking up Animal Farm now, like, where's the horse? Some of you people owe a certain streamer an apology because this book has way too many 5 stars. Some of you are lying. So after buying this book, Amazon has given me a few interesting recommendations. Would you like to see them? I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend. That time I got drunk and saved a demon. Gentling the beast. Cupcakes for my orc enemy. Main of my existence. The gargoyle and the spinster.
See, if you were to tell me that each of these titles, despite the fact that they look like Harlequin romance novels, were actually D&D campaign modules made for tabletop, like Thirsty Sword Lesbians was created by that Top Hat group, specifically to spite people, in the same vein as things like Boyfriend Dungeon, and the likes of people like Neuralities that are addicted to things like Revolutionary Girl Utna, I would believe you. Simply because of how similar they look. But unfortunately, no, they are not. Although, some of these are composited really good. The artwork on some of these books are really good, and they're really composited well. Good enough that you can actually learn techniques from thumbnail and from landscape and size about them.
The widow and the orcs, hoarded by the dragon. There's something about dragons. Getting it on with gargoyles, gotten by the gator, mated to the mountain bear. Oh, so this is why they chose the bear. The billionaire orc, moth manager, wolves and whipped cream, the wolf in my tavern, pounded by produce. Oh, what? Are these the books the Nazis burned?
My husband only reads finance and sci-fi books, and so I think it's about time that I introduce him to some real literature. So the first book that I would like to introduce you to is called Morning Glory Milking Farm. And it's not a normal milking farm like with cows. What it is it's big, bulky minotaurs, and it's a special type of milking.
See, honey, she's his stepsister, and she got stuck in the washing machine again. Women on TikTok are openly, proudly talking about the porn they consume and getting mad at people when they make fun of it. I hereby ban men from reacting to romantasy on TikTok. Best-selling romantasy books like A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Fourth Wing contain descriptions of hot sex. I feel like that's common knowledge, if not their primary purposes. But in recent months, book talk has become full of men clutching their pearls while reacting to steamy scenes from these popular female-centered books. Obviously, this is all a massive performance. We live in the age of OnlyFans. The odds are that these men have seen actual porn that defies the laws of physics and God. Over 90% of men between the ages 16 and 73 watch porn in any random month. There's statistically no way all of these guys are shocked by the sex itself. What they are gawking at is sex from the perspective of female desire, scenes that depict women coming first and frequently. And what they are surprised by is the women they know love these scenes. In what?
I mean, this is the thing, though, about that, right? Many people could say that. Pulling on my experience as an escort, what these women want is not just, I would like to be titillated. No. These women want to be breed pounded, okay? Some of these girls, some of these women, especially the fat ones, they want to be bred. And they don't want to be bred gently. They don't want a gentle lover. They want the 5-finger necklace, and they want to be held down, one hand on neck, one hand on the thumb under the fupa, holding back the thigh and the leg, and this motion. Okay? There is no gentle way to describe this. It is not about female enamour from the idea of porn written for, directed by, and or thought out by women. No. It is some of the most aggressive setups that I have ever seen, read, experienced, and or have been asked to talk them through that makes you think this person is a debaucherous individual with specific kinks in the most debaucherous ones that makes you fear the concern of their safety when they are alone. That is the problem for most men. It's what makes them. That's what makes us concerned. Because the thing about it is that this shit is more aggressive than hentai. And I'm talking about the aggressive kind of hentai. Especially self-made dojins. removing the disgust from words. Air quote, disgust from words. To mimic the positions and the handholds and the blah 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 will make any normal guy with a conscience think I could never do this in public. Even if asked to, even if begged to, even if commanded to. In privacy where there are no others. And for some women, that's the point. I want to be degraded. But there's a limit, okay? There's a limit to the psyche. And there's a limit to what the male psyche is prepared to handle. When they say they want their cookies crushed. I'm stealing from Dr. Umar. When they say they want their cookies crushed, the expectation is extremely jarring. Period. Married women, you're exempt from this. Everybody fucking else, go to therapy. You have deep set issues. Go to therapy. You have deep set issues. You don't need dick. You need a therapist. And no, the therapist cannot then have sex with you on the couch. That's also a fantasy that some of these women have.
One video, a guy declares, "Now I know why women enjoy book clubs and wine." But his astonishment in itself is astonishing. Like, what do you think adult women were into? Not having sex and drinking wine? Grow up. Imagine a group of men sitting around drinking wine, discussing the porn they watch. That is what you guys are essentially doing. It's just funny, okay? Like, it's funny. Are we really going to pretend that a story about a young woman getting a job milking mythical creatures to pay off her student debt is not funny? It's funny. If that makes me a sexist, misogynist, you got me. To act like you are so different and above the other gooners is just, it's silly. I'm sorry, but you are no different than Joe Schmo jorking it to fat booty Latinas in Space 12. You're sitting there all high and mighty, one hand on the book, acting like you're so superior because you can perfectly envision a horse spinning 360 degrees in your mind. I'm not impressed. The scenes these men are reading, to many people, myself included, are insanely sexy. But purely in terms of the acts being described, they aren't all that lurid. And as many of the comments on these videos point out, there is much wilder stuff out there. For example, these men have clearly not yet discovered knotting, a popular term in romantasy right now that involves werewolves whose penises...
I can tell you right now, yes we have. I can tell you right now, yes we have. Most men have discovered knotting because their girlfriends have approached them with knotting. I can tell you that for certain, we have encountered it. Even before I was on Twitter, I already knew what it was.
Get so swollen after sex, they have to stay inside their partners until the swelling subsides. Oh, honey, that's not a popular trend in romantasy. That's just a thing real dogs do. Oh, you just don't get it. You don't know what knotting is. What are these women reading, bro? What happened to that, like, stupid fucking corny Hallmark thing, going home for Christmas to your hometown and falling in love with the cute farmer boy? What happened to that? We used to make fun of that. We truly did not know what we had until it was gone. Now women out here fantasizing about getting their asses clapped by demons and werewolves and goblins and ghouls. I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out and people were like, oh my god, this is so crazy. Women are crazy. 50 Shades of Grey looks like missionary sex through a bedsheet for the sole purpose of procreation compared to the shit the average woman on TikTok is reading. At least Christian Grey was a human man and not a fucking dog, you fan.
Ironically enough, it was a better example of exactly the kind of shit that you would actually expect, especially from the dialectic of most discussion. E.L. James is quite frankly tame. A man in power who puts himself in a position of power, who himself, his backstory was that he was a groomed male who was taught by an older woman who used him sexually and ultimately gave him the quirks and kinks that became a part of his daily routine. just looking for a woman that he could be able to allow for his sexual ambivalence on. It is a weak sauce exemplification of Secretary. And for those of you who have actually been there on that movie night where you watched Secretary alongside me, you all can remember the words that were being said to me by my woman. She was like, Carl, you were just making us watch softcore porn. And then those of you who know about Jay and her coverage of 365 Days, both Part 1 and Part 2, know my pain and being forced to watch softcore porn. That just would be hardcore porn. If those damn Polish people had different rules. It is a burden! It's a burden!
Fantasize about dating the quiet, shy, nerdy girl. You know, she's innocent, she's pure, she's not like those other girls, like going out clubbing and hooking up with random men. No, she's at home, curled up by the fire in a blanket, reading a book. Except that book is about f***ing a half-man, half-bull. Let me let you in on a little secret. The quiet, nerdy girl is way more of a freak than the average hoe. Are you kidding me? It's not even...
Yeah, we do. That's why we niggas love them.
Close. The average hoe might have a body count of like 15 or so, but the quiet, nerdy girl is fantasizing about getting back shots from Cthulhu. That is at least 100 bodies. Now listen, there's nothing inherently wrong with fantasizing, okay? There's nothing wrong with role play. You know, fiction is fiction, right? You know, you're not actually going to bang your stepsister, right? These women are not actually going to bang a cow. Or at least I hope not. We all know there is a difference between fantasy and reality. Well, what happens when they try to bring fantasy into reality? Well, you get Sinners and Stardust.
God damn it, the text store agreed. Do you want your biggest dreams to come in reality? Sinners and Stardust. Tickets go on sale October 4th at 12 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. PST. Oh yeah, I remember these pictures getting circulated.
What in the eyes wide shut is going on here? Sinners and Stardust was supposed to be a dark romance ball for romantasy authors and fans alike. So what's the big deal? Seems like a fun, sexy time, right? Maybe, if you're a woman. If you're a man, the night may have gone a little differently for you. Alright y'all, it appears I have to make a post that I'm frankly pretty goddamn upset I have to make. This post is for the readers who don't understand consent and boundaries only. A lot of you may know my good friend Animus. He's attended a signing of mine in the past and obviously is a musical artist. This past weekend he attended Sinners and Stardust and probably had one of the most heartbreaking experiences. So listen, he's a man, right? But do we think that means it's okay to put your hands all over him without consent? Or to put your hands in his waistband or down his pants or touch his dick? Hello? Do we think it's okay to quite literally back him into a corner and touch all over him to the point that he literally cannot tell how many hands are on him and whose are whose? Do we think it's okay to send him into an actual panic attack because of this? Furthermore, do we think it's okay to interrogate him and insist he detail how he'd kidnap a woman despite him repeatedly saying he wouldn't do that and you know that shit is fiction, and then attempt to follow him when he tries to get away? And if that wasn't enough, during the time of this mob, him and another author received notification that an air tag was tracking him, which showed on his person all the way to his hotel room. They molested this guy until he passed out from anxiety, and then they put a f***ing tracker on him in order to stalk him back to his hotel. This poor guy dressed like a character in one of the romantasy books at this romantasy convention full of women. That is like throwing roast beef into a pit of wolves. Or in this case, throwing a wolf into a pit of roast beef. I remember also there was this thing called cosplay is not consent. Basically, it was a campaign to bring attention to the fact that people at conventions would often come up to women dressed in sexy costumes and just grope and grab them without their consent. Yeah, apparently we have to bring that back because these women did not get the memo. I've been a furry for over...
It was never about having a memo that was cross-generated. It was always about having cross-pollination to allow for the it girls to take over the fandom and use their hotness as a way to build an audience. In reverse, this is not how it works. It is seen that men are always eager and that an attractive male knows what's going to happen, especially if they choose to do this in some way that they are able to benefit from. So, there was actually a good example of the reason why I made fun of a particular person who was known for doing this. Those of you who don't remember, I will bring it up for you. there was an individual by the name of King Thoticus. If I can go find it. Caramel Cajun. King Thoticus. Advanced search. Let's see here. Try and find it. Might have changed its handle now. Nope. Still there. No underscore. So, there was a user that is a known individual that goes around the particular Seattle and Toronto area and other places that he can go find parties from, and explicitly tries to fuck with, fuck, and get over on women by the name of King Thoticus. He is known for being an abuser, because he is a person who just goes to events and effectively spreads around STDs. I'm trying to find my post, because I know I called this person out before. Feels like I can't find it now, because I know I called this person out. But this individual is a user that sells and licenses himself as an internet whore / internet lover boy. Right? He is every bit the example of the antithesis of people like me. So, if Single Player Carl is a name that was invented at the time in which I was a fuckboy, floating around on the white women, this is the alt-black alternative Negro lover boy who goes around these areas, dressed as the example and the archetype, who specifically specializes in going to events like electric forests, as you can see here, that has the intention of acting like he is an alternate universe Cisgeek, or Cisco. This individual is responsible for the assault, the rape, violation, and the violation of boundaries of multiple men and women at events. And they are the exemplar of the opposite of what happens. Someone could take any of the examples of where I've been in public and women have done it to me and say, this is what this guy wishes he could have. There are other examples I'm trying to find of where this guy has done this to other people and made it as a part of the problem. And the issue is that without having the proper boundaries for control, consent, and protection, individuals like this run rampant, while individuals like myself can catch endless strays. Was it on First Player Carl? Is that the reason why I can't find it? Let me see. Guess I need to look for phrases for Seattle. Which appears there is none. Nope. Oh well. Anyways. The idea has been the case for a very long time. As the example was for me bringing him up. That individuals like King Thoticus are allowed to be fondled by women. Because it's different when women do it. That's the basic idea. Cosplay is not consent except when the guy is attractive. Therefore, he should be okay with it because he knows what he's doing and he knows where he's at. So basically, he's asking for it. And he deserves to have it happen.
For a decade and attended a lot of furcons. Sure, sometimes weird shit happens, but honestly, I can't believe the dark romance crowd is out here acting like this. Like, me and my buddies in our fursuits are more respecting of consent and bodily autonomy. Get your shit together, y'all. When the furries are calling you out for being freaks, you need to reflect. Something has gone horribly wrong. Not only were the men at this book talk convention assaulted, but women were also assaulted by women. Multiple women, including a performer, reported being assaulted there as well. Even an
Maya Mallard moment.
author there said she was groped and dragged away from her friends and said no matter how many times she said no, quote, "My words did nothing." May I remind you, this is a book convention, okay? For books. Literal BDSM clubs are more respectful than this. There needs to be more studies on how this stuff affects women's brains, because clearly some are unable to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. Ivy Lipton, a doctoral candidate in human sexuality, actually wrote about this for EV Magazine. I don't know what a doctoral candidate in human sexuality is, but she's hot, so I trust her. Your brain on orgasms isn't neutral. Dopamine release during climax is a powerful conditioning agent. What you repeatedly fantasize about becomes necessary for arousal. If your erotic imagination centers around abuse, monstrous violence, and submission to non-human entities, your brain is reprogramming itself to crave just that. It's not empowerment, it's neuroplasticity at its darkest. Scientists, psychologists, and the general public often state that men are visual and women are emotional. When it comes to sex, men can be turned on instantly by a sexual image despite their mood, and women need to be turned on emotionally to get in the mood. So it stands to reason that porn for men is visual and for women is in the mind. I'm not equating porn to smut novels because one is a video of two people actually having real sex and the other is, well, just words on paper. I am, however, talking about the effect on the consumer. We know watching porn is bad for the brain. That's been proven and only rejected by gooners who don't want to give it up. But is reading smut bad? You might say, duh, that's the whole point. Okay, fair enough. So let me rephrase, is reading smut harmful? Should we shame people for things that are wrong, immoral, or harmful? In my line of work, I've been told many times that shame has no place in sex. But if I use my brain for 2 seconds, it's clear that line of thinking is nonsense. Incest should be shamed, bestiality should be shamed, philia should be shamed. I'm not equating monster smut with these things, but there are 50 shades of gray, so to speak, along the spectrum of harmful. Conditioning your brain and body to associate pleasure with monsters, slavery, or sexual violence is not healthy. Basically, they're cooked. Like, women are cooked. They are frying their brains with this stuff. It's a pipeline, right? It's like the infamous evil alt-right pipeline. You know, you start watching Shoe on Head, owning the feminists in 2015, and then in 2025, you're hailing Hitler, right? You know, the alt-right pipeline. And this one's like, you're reading Morning Glory Milking Farm, and the next thing you know, you're Mrs. Hands, right? Just say no. Just say no to monster porn. But why is monster smut so popular with women in particular? Like, you rarely see the opposite, and when you do, it's just like a girl with cat ears and fangs, or like a 10-foot-tall Dami-Mommy vampire with giant titties. Meanwhile, women are like, I want to f the pollution monster from Fern Gully. So people on Reddit asked this.
I mean, come on. It's Tim Curry, technically. There's technically saying they fucked Tim Curry in Plasticist. Which, to be honest, if you're going to go that far, you might as well fuck Tim Curry in every role that he's ever had to put on makeup. So, The Devil in Legend, Fern Gully, Clue, Command and Conquer, Rocky Horror Picture Show. There's lots of examples. The Mighty Ducks.
This very question. Let's see the responses. Why do you guys like monster romances? Asking for a friend. Several reasons. 1, human men are quite often terrible. Romance books with human men are already partly fantasy, but monsters just takes the fantasy bit further. 2, it's sort of human nature to imagine relationships with paranormal beings and creatures. We've been doing it in literature and art for centuries. It's just gotten a lot more graphic now, lol. 3, unique body forms / parts and so many different kinds of dicks. Scary, mean, terrifying creature is sweet to her, kind, takes care of her, protects her, works hard to be gentle, etc. Maximal escapism, minimal association to real-life assholes, the patriarchy, misogyny, and oppression of women, etc., etc. Because the monsters are less dangerous than dating actual men. As a fat woman of color, modern, contemporary, and even fantasy romances are hard to click to because they are almost always about thin white women and just too realistic. And romance in real life is not always attainable for fat women / women of color. In monster alien romance, though, my size doesn't matter and it's easier to get into that headspace and enjoy it. I'm sick of the men on Earth and looking for some variety. Non-humans haven't betrayed and hurt me, so they feel like a safe haven, if that makes sense. Plus the unusual monsters have big, fun-shaped cocks. I love some bizarre peen, unique genitalia. I don't know what I was expecting, honestly. A lot of women's smut, especially monster smut, is about submission, domination, forced breeding, non-consensual consent. The women are like conquered and taken and overpowered by these monsters. And I think many of these women are reading these books containing monsters and not men because masculinity and dominance in men has been completely demonized in modern society. But the truth is, many women still crave it. You see, the monsters in these stories have those like dominant masculine traits that women like so much, but they're not human men. They have all these traits women desire without the problematic baggage human men bring, without being the men they hate or have been told to hate. It is the perfect guilt-free slop. But they don't just want a wild dominant man, they want to tame a wild dominant man. Similar to when a man sees an art-hoe with a nose ring, you can save her from her daddy issues. You can do it. It definitely won't backfire and ruin your life. Go for it, go talk to her. With many women, there's this desire for like danger and aggression, but also the desire to tame that danger and aggression. The desire to be that special woman who can melt his heart. You see, my dragon boyfriend could rip me to shreds and kill me instantly, but he won't because he's nice and he loves me. But honestly, at the end of the day, just like the video I made about the anime girl in a wheelchair where men were saying, this is the average male fantasy, and a bunch of women were like, you want to rape a disabled girl? When in reality, it was just a distilled manifestation of the average male fantasy, which is to protect and provide for a sweet woman and save her. This is like basically the flip of that, right? This is just the distilled manifestation of the female fantasy. Men are seeing this and they're saying, what do you mean you want to milk a minotaur? When in reality, it's just to have a big, strong protector and provider swoop you up and save you. And like I said in that video, they're basically both the same fantasy. This is a tale as old as time, the princess being saved from the dragon by a knight in shining armor, whether the dragon be a wheelchair or student loans, you know? But in this case, the woman is being f***ed by the dragon and the knight sits in the corner and watches or something. Maybe it's not that deep. There are some hungers better starved than fed. And maybe as women, for the sake of society, we have to starve our hunger for minotaur. That's the moral of this video. So what do you guys think? What is your theory? Why is the monster romance genre so popular with women in particular? And who is your weirdest? Hear me out. Be honest. I don't want to hear no Lola Bunny, okay? You all know mine already. It's not that he's a fish, okay? He has an energy, okay? He has a vibe. Oh, never mind. And I will see you guys again really soon with a new video. Bye!
The funny part of this is that if we all remember that she was a part of a BDGL LG. Why do I always put the G before the L? if you remember that she was a part of the DDLG, this creates a lot of context where it's like, wow, I just liked it when my boyfriend was big and was taller than me, and also I was allowed to be an art hoe. And now I look at you bitches from the sanctity of my marriage to my husband, who is right-wing and gave me my child, and I'm like, what are all you bitches doing? I imagine there's a level of this that is ironic in that way. Certainly that had to have crossed her mind when she was editing this. Or was having this edited. I don't know how she edits this video. These videos. Plural. I imagine there's an element of this. At least that's what my brain's telling me. A lot of these are not great. Especially not that one. But I imagine there has to be a level of that. Knowing the in-depth lore, 50 Shades pretty depressing, no effort hardware, just because you're very pretty. I mean, there's levels to that extra pressure. Especially if you consider the fact that it started off with him being groomed by an older woman, and then continuing the darkness onto another person. For me, the problem that I have with the story of the Stardust and Sinners is the fact that a man was sexually assaulted in public, received no real help and benefit from staff organizers, and effectively was being stalked to his hotel so these women could break into his place and suck his dick. In any other situation, that would have gotten the proper attention. But it was a man, and it was different to them. So something, he's actually asking for it, though. Which is weird. It's just weird. Item level's too low. Then, the absolute state of Crunchyroll. The way that this was written when he broke this down is that Struggler wrote this down as mother's embarrassment stabs Crunchyroll in the face when it's no longer viable to shill. So I imagine this is going to be a living example of Mother's Basement backtracking on his opinion about Crunchimation after years and years and years and years of being a person saying support the anime industry while also backstabbing the anime industry. Ugh. Get ready for disappointment.
Currently watching all the new anime to prepare for my fall recommendation. Crunchyroll is in big trouble. I'm currently watching all the new anime to prepare for my fall recommendation video, and I couldn't help notice something a little different about their subtitles this season. Namely, that they're all ass now.
As if they weren't ass before? Come on, catch up, bro. What are you talking about? There's no such thing as ass, remember? Everybody who complains about the subtitles is just angry, upset, and coping, and also liars, remember? That's what you said. That's what you told people before, right?
font is worse, the subs don't have a drop shadow anymore, they're timed terribly with lines just cutting off halfway through sentences, and when characters speak over each other, they just stack the subs on top of each other with no indication of who's supposed to be saying what. All of which makes the subs substantially harder to read and creates potential accessibility issues. Plus, there's
boo-hoo.
No typesetting whatsoever anymore, so you can just forget about reading any on-screen text that's relevant to the story of the anime you're watching. And to top it all off, when they finally dropped the first episode for Hiroaka's final season, 9 hours late, it had subtitles for every language except English, even though Hulu got it up just fine right on time. Overnight, Crunchyroll's subtitles have become as bad as Netflix and Amazon's, if not worse, which is pathetic when their one job as a platform is to be the best place to watch specifically anime.
Pause. But it hasn't been. For years, Joffrey! None of this is new. For years they've been dog shit. For years they've been dog shit. And you sat there and you defended them. Why are you changing up now? Why are you changing up now? It's almost like you have a reason to change up. Pray tell, what could that be? What could that be, Joffrey?
While there are still services like hd2guide and Ocean Vale offering more limited typesetting, Crunchyroll, who were the best at it until literally last month, have seemingly abandoned it altogether. According to as yet unconfirmed rumors, the cause of this seems to be Crunchyroll forcing their entire localization team to switch to this new software called Una, which integrates streamlined subtitling tools into a team management chat system similar to Slack. Also, there's some AI crap in there, because of course there is, although apparently that is through third-party extensions, not built into the app itself. And sources within Crunchyroll have confirmed that they're not using AI in subtitling at all for now. There has also been some hay made about how Una's based out of Tel Aviv, though this video is mainly going to focus on how watching anime is getting worse, because that's my wheelhouse.
Remember, guys, even when you thought you could be able to escape this and just hear about a video talking about some basic stuff, you still have to deal with Israel and Palestine. We are not safe. We could not escape it. You will be forced to have an opinion. Bye, Hort.
Acknowledge no one who works there has openly supported the atrocities, but I completely understand if you want to draw the line there anyway. Although, if you do, you might have more subscriptions to cancel than you realize. Una is an all-in-one enterprise solution designed to be the, quote, gold standard for big studios and streaming giants who need their content translated. So it offers pretty much nothing to help with the specific challenges of anime localization. My podcast co-host Miles wrote about this in his anime newsletter on Substack, and according to him, the localization team at Crunchyroll used to use an open source program called Aegis Sub, which is specifically designed with anime in mind to support advanced typesetting and subtitle styling. That was Crunchyroll's secret sauce. But there were several downsides to using it on the business side of things. The more specialized software, of course, required more specialized talent to use it, and those higher effort subtitles obviously take a whole lot more time to produce than the crap they're settling for now. More advanced typesetting would also require rendering out multiple versions of each anime episode with different hard subs for every language that Crunchyroll offers, because even Crunchyroll's video player can only do so much by itself. Not to mention, platforms like Netflix and Amazon don't support typesetting setting at all. So when Crunchyroll sub-licenses an anime to one of those services, they just have to go back and make the subtitles again, but shittier this time anyway. So from a business perspective, changing the software makes some sense, if indeed that is what happened. Crunchyroll hasn't actually confirmed or denied that they're working with Una yet, and all I could get out of my source is that there were nebulous technical and software issues affecting subtitles for some shows, which the team is currently working on fixing. But we still don't have a timeline for when it will be fixed, and regardless, Crunchyroll shouldn't be testing out new technology or a new subtitling pipeline on live anime episodes, let alone all of the new anime episodes for the start of a season. This is when the fandom is the most active in discovering and discussing new anime, a moment where any kind of pain point in the viewing experience can make or break a show's chance at finding an audience. And they're out here making it hard to even understand what characters are saying and screwing around to the point that even tentpole shows like Hiroaka aren't coming out on time. This is a serious slap in the face to Crunchyroll's core audience, but it's...
No, because Crunchyroll's core audience are people who don't actually understand anime and don't know how to get anime on demand. This doesn't affect any of the people who are actually watching seasonals. You know why? Because those people watching seasonals are getting them through other sources. Even without mentioning that I am tied to a subgroup, there are plenty of subgroups that specialize in material. And specialize in content for certain sources. You've got your people who specialize in harem anime. You've got your guys that specialize in girl-centered media. You got your guys that focus specifically on just dramas, K-dramas, J-dramas, and C-dramas. You've got the guys that focus on tokusatsu. You've got the entire core of most people uploading direct rip RAWs and converted products to Naya.ci. Not just mentioning all of the versions that you can get from all the other additional magnet links on pirate websites. You've got plenty of people that have the links and the connections in various different ways, and somehow you need or still need this service this way. Nah, you lazy. Nah, nigga, you lazy. You lazy as fuck. You lazy as fuck, and you don't want to admit you're lazy as fuck. Which is unfortunate for you. Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now. And I have an annuity and I need cash now.
Far from the only one in the last few years. Despite the platform's rapid post-pandemic growth, basically every change that they've made lately has been for the worse. This all...
That's what happens when you're paying attention for money, dumbass.
Really comes back to Crunchyroll's merger with Funimation, which
was a fucking abysmal choice in trying to incentivize themselves and control of the marketplace with a power move not since before seen before or again since the rise and fall of 4Kids TV in the loss of the Fox box.
a lot of people thought at the time would mean Crunchyroll just taking over Funimation's licenses and continuing to operate as they had been. After all, they kept the much more successful Crunchyroll branding, and it would be very obviously silly to put the people who made Funimation now, a broken dogshit service that most people only sub to when they had a really good exclusive for the season, in charge of the very platform that ate their entire lunch and forced them to be bought out by Sony. But the thing about Japanese megacorporations is that seniority is everything. And Funimation's people had been part of Sony longer than Crunchyroll's, so when the time came to eliminate redundancies, it was the real anime fans who knew what they were doing who got the axe, while Funimation and Sony execs took over. And
that's not our fault for specifically building the type of anime industry that isolates the people who were there and made it into a big dick bug group for myself, GG Bro, Sid Snap, Joey the Anime Man, and everybody else that's a part of things like the Trash Taste podcast. No. We are the victims here. We are the victims. We created this, but we are the victims because they fucked us. They told us a lie, and we believed them, and then they fucked us. Can you believe that? And they lied to our face, and then they fucked us the way we fucked other people? It's a travesty, I tell you.
Since then, Crunchyroll has gone through several more waves of layoffs, each one purging the company of more and more of the people who actually gave a shit about anime, the anime community, and the anime viewing experience. The first real sign of this change was the degradation of the Crunchyroll store, which almost immediately started having the exact same problems that the Funimation store used to have, with unpredictable product delays and damaged goods due to poor packaging. Exactly the sort of thing you expect to see from people who don't really care about anime collectors and just want to move as much product as possible as quickly as possible for as little cost as possible.
Which is the same problem that already existed with box sets and samurai boxing, which is the reason why most of those multi-sellers went the way of the dodo. Ironically, around the same time in which people like iDub stopped doing bad unboxing, where he was in fact getting purchases and materials from those people, where it became more effective to just go abroad and buy the DVDs and buy the things from the places that you wanted them from, rather than ship them through things like Amazon. Granted, you could probably get these things for a better deal on Amazon. Unironically so. That's neither here nor there.
The Right Stuff buyout was supposed to fix that problem by bringing in literally the best people in the anime retail business and all of their supply chain infrastructure, then folding that into the Crunchyroll brand, but I think you already have some idea of what the people in charge now think of letting real anime fans tell them how to run their business, so it probably won't surprise you to hear that what actually happened was the exact opposite. The Crunchyroll store experience stayed exactly as shitty as it had been, while their only real competition simply ceased to be.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie. Hey, did that guy just turn into Saiyan?
And to add insult to injury, people who had pre-ordered stuff from Right Stuff ended up having to deal with the same months-long delays, poor communication, and sloppy, low-effort shipping that they went to that other store to avoid in the first place. And that's not even getting into the various Kickstarters for classic anime re-releases that Right Stuff had been running through their Nozomi Entertainment media label, like the Captain Tyler Special Edition that I promoted way back when. Crunchyroll only just started sending out Blu-rays for the Let's Dub Dirty Pair Kickstarter that was funded way back in 2021 with an estimated release date of August 2022. And when they did finally send them out, not only did they fail to deliver on a promised version of the dub with old school sound effects, several of the discs were straight up mislabeled. So yeah, the Right Stuff buyout's been nothing but an unmitigated disaster for anime fans, and it's in—
And whose fault is that? The same people who were too busy destroying the legacy of a man, or attempting to destroy the legacy of a man, that they wanted to bury in an industry because they thought they would have control of the people in that industry forever. Huh? What's that, Monica Jinrial? What's that, Jamie Marchi? What's that, dumbasses at Funimation that put your weight behind these men and women trying to bury Victor Joseph Madonna? It didn't work out? Damn, that's really sad. I hope you make room for Beam Hayworth to take your job, because he will be taking your job. It might not happen right now, but it's going to happen. And it's going to happen very quickly. You're going to get backing from people like Justin Cook, and he's going to get backing from people like Crispin Freeman. And then the next thing you fucking know, your job is replaced. And suddenly your character is being played by Tara Strong. It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be real fucking funny when it happens. Hello, Neil J. I'm back. And the reason to press X on it, Bogdan, on real anime fans, is that's actually a call out back to some of their original in-player shorts that they would have as commercials. Especially when they would talk about supporting the anime community with a flashing light and a ting over it with one of the female employees basically mogging to the camera. Real anime fans or anime fans that would have found a way to support the official release come hell or high water. That's what the real anime fans are. Realistically, you could say you're an anime fan and you still use a service like hd2guide or Crunchyroll or even Funimation at the time, both post and pre-merger. But the fact of the matter is that if you really wanted to watch anime, you're not going to be prevented by any of this shit. You are going to find ways to watch it. Come hell or high water. You won't be prevented. Period. Period.
Indicative of a corporate culture that simply does not care what we want because they know they're the only real game in town. But that...
And guess why that exists, Joffrey? Do you remember why that exists? It's because of shills like you. You were willing to sell yourself up the river, and you were willing to do it for as little or as much money as they would offer you. And there's no real conference. There's no real difference. Because there is no real competition. Because anybody who could have been competition to replace them is gone. Because you killed them. And you helped kill them.
That's still not the most egregious example of Crunchyroll abandoning the anime community. That ignominious distinction belongs to what they've done to their own community features, which you might have noticed just straight up don't exist anymore. 2 years ago, they shut down their forums, which was disappointing, but somewhat understandable in the new social media age, except that around the same time, they also started using HDCP encryption to block video screenshots on their site and app, making it substantially more difficult to clip, cap, and discuss anime on social media.
And why do you think that they would do that? Because it's about you consuming the content, not about you being a part of the product. The same logic is the reason why Riot Games stopped using internal browsers and stopped using internal forums and started using Reddit as a controllable source. 1, they're left-wing political hacks. 2, it gives them control over something that they otherwise don't need to have full contemptuality of. And then finally, it is just more useful. It is just more useful for their purposes. They don't have to put in a lot of effort. They got to put in a lot of work. They're already going to do what they made them to do. It was to be a place where they could have more control, not less control. And also burying their secrets. That's the other reason they deleted it. By deleting those forums, Riot Games covered up the fact that they specialized in left-wing struggle sessions to punish you for misbehaving as a player. It's the only way to call them out and to show them that you remember about how they treated you was to have proof of them doing it. And in light of that truth, they will likely be unpunished for a while. Like a long while. Like a really, 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 really long while.
And it made my life personally harder by messing up my whole thumbnail process. Just
boo-hoo!
This is a nice little treat. But it still wasn't all bad. They did still have the comment section directly under every episode that let you dive right into talking about anime with like-minded fans as you were still watching it. And when you finished the series, you could even write up a review that would appear on the show's homepage, which could then spark further discussion. It was a fantastic feature, clearly thought up by anime fans who spent a lot of time on other anime sites. But you might have noticed that I'm talking about it exclusively in the past tense, and that's because last summer, on July 8th, Crunchyroll just up and deleted the whole thing without any notice, not even giving those fan reviewers a chance to back their work up elsewhere. One day, comments were on, the next, they were gone, and the reason I know what specific day it is because it was kind of my fault. Not on purpose, to be clear. It was the last outcome I wanted to see, but 2 days prior to all the comments and reviews going away, I did make a tweet about some homophobic weirdos who were going around review bombing literally every Yaoi and Yuri series on the platform. I wasn't...
You have some proof for that. But I don't believe you when you say it.
Really trying to start a controversy, and I didn't even put any blame on Crunchyroll for it happening. I was just pointing out weird, toxic behavior from culture warrior tourists trying to gatekeep queer genres that have been part of anime and anime fandom in Japan and abroad since before they were even born. Fake anime fans using our hobby to push their political agenda are a much bigger problem than any one anime website, but the tweet did undeniably put some indirect pressure on Crunchyroll to maybe start moderating comments and reviews a little more, like at the very least filter out the obvious copy-paste spam, and I guess they did some internal calculations and came to the conclusion that it would be cheaper to just nuke the whole feature. A frustrating, disappointing, downright depressing thing to watch unfold when all I wanted to do was mock some guys who forgot about don't like, don't look. But now, as I look back on that moment, it does give me a bit of hope for this one, because even if Crunchyroll's management isn't part of the anime community anymore, there are clearly still real anime fans working there who care about what the community and our little slice of it have to say. They've been out on social media reassuring fans about the subtitle situation as best they can without, an official statement from the higher-ups. And even if they don't have nearly as much power within the company as they should or used to, they are still passing the concerns of fans along. Since I tweeted about making this video, they even reached out to me about opening dialogue on these and other anime community issues, so we'll see how that goes. I would love nothing more than to see Crunchyroll go back to being by otaku for otaku. And
I mean, that depends on what you define as otaku. In a time period where people could be able to watch Heaven's Lost Property without censorship, The Testament of Sister New Devil, both the original and burst, High School of the Dead, Food Wars with little censorship, maybe even being able to watch Interspecies Reviewer with minimal censorship, you're asking for something that people are not going to legitimately get in its full proportion. Perhaps by design.
I honestly think that that would be the best for the long-term sustainability of their brand, but honestly, I don't even know if that's possible anymore, so I'd settle for them just not actively making the experience worse for their most hardcore users.
The short answer is no, Jeffrey, it's not possible. Because they live in a time period where they're competing against the work of a pirate being better than an official source. And when the pirate is better at supporting the work that is capable of giving energy to this official release, and they have actual ways for you to then support those people and support those businesses, it becomes a question of, why am I giving you money? Why are they giving you money? For what reason? What is the reason? Why are people giving you money? Why should anybody give you money anymore? You can't do the job that I can do. So why do they give you money? If people had asked that question back before Crunchyroll stole their money and tried to make themselves into a legitimate business, it would have been killed in the cradle. But unfortunately it wasn't. So we are where we are now. So, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Crunchyroll may be huge now thanks to the COVID weeb boom, but without their core audience, they are still a tiny-ass fish in the streaming ocean. And if all of the reasons to watch anime through them instead of Netflix or some less official channels go away, Sony's new golden goose could give up the ghost before they know it. And I don't want to see that happen because I still think Crunchyroll provides a net positive to anime fans by making...
Where? Where is the net positive? A company ran by people who hate the people who are supporting them, thinks they're stupid, and will lie to their face. And feel uncomfortable when you catch them on a lie at conventions. What's good about that?
Making sure damn near every show gets translated. Even if you're watching on pirate sites, you're still watching Crunchyroll subtitles, and you'll
I can promise you I'm not. Especially if I'm watching Rider Time. I can promise you I'm not.
probably notice the drop in quality there too. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some poorly subtitled anime to watch and recommendations to write. Plus another topical video about the politics of One Piece that I'm really proud of. So please make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell if you haven't already to make sure you don't miss any of that. And if you want to support me making more content, especially stuff like this that risks pissing off my own long-term sponsors, consider pledging to my Patreon. It gives me a financial safety net to make risky videos like this one and my Gundam retrospective, and in exchange you'll get access to uncensored cuts of my videos, an archive of old scripts, and an absolutely lovely Discord community full of amazing people.
Trash, 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 and trash. So you're offering trash. That's what you offer. You're offering trash. Garbage! No thank you. No thank you. Ugh. So, after years and years and years and years and years and years of benefiting off the business, when it goes tits up, instead of blaming yourself for being a part of the problem, you're going to blame the people in the hot chair. Because, bro, I'm just a YouTuber. I don't have responsibility over this. Where's Giguk? Where's Sid? There's none of these people. Ouch. Ow. It's abysmal, man. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not surprised by him. I'm honestly not surprised. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. He was dog shit then. He's dog shit still. He'll continue to be dog shit. He'll continue to push the problem on other people. And once he crosses over, if he hasn't already, with the post-millennial crowd, it'll continue to be the same. Because they're not going to actually learn anything from this. They're just going to try to set the scene like an animation page. One directed on top of the other. For the reason where people are unsafe and are unwilling to trust the business is because you already eroded the trust of the business. People weren't willing to take these deals with Crunchyroll if they can just get better service for free, or even watch the Raws and learn Japanese from the Raws and Naya. Good luck, I guess. Which you're not gonna really take it. How do you get an audience to begin with? Pandering. The same way as the pedantic romantic. Pandering. And Digibro. Pandering. Lots of early anime fans were fans of Team 4-Star. And thus were fans of left-wing politics. Because most, not all, but most of these YouTubers lived in the area of Texas. And Dallas, Texas, alongside LA, are the big two hubs of voice acting. Especially if you're a voice actor trying to break into the business. Because then you can get video games by being in Georgia or Los Angeles, and then you can get into anime voice dubbing with Walla until you become a paid professional actor if you don't break out in an indie, which gets you your first real work outside of being a Walla actor or a place like Funimation, if you are able to work at it long enough to get an agent, which is where you then have the ability to negotiate paychecks and then have the ability to actually negotiate starring roles. This being, of course, if you're not already a working seinen and seiyuu inside the Japanese industry, which gives more agency towards those that have superiority and familiarity, which is uncommon. Ironically enough, you're more likely to have seen people working in Disney and working for Disney and doing voiceover shit at the same time then you would have been seeing them show up in random places. By that I mean, if you looked at the trajectory of actors like Mark Dacascos, I don't remember his other name, but Mark Dacascos, Ming-Na Wen, that one person that was the lead female for Sky from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who was working alongside Ming-Na Wen, the actor for Boba Fett, and Dan Southworth alongside Johnny and Bosch, and also my voiceover teacher, who's going to become Aqua's voiceover teacher, because he's starting voice acting mastery in the form of the coaches and the coach professional suggestions from Crispin, and all of the other graduate students you will probably know that are now working professionals in the field, alongside other coaches, other voiceover coaches that specialize in radio and whatnot. It would have behooved you to have gone down a path similar to that as Dan Southworth. So in between roles, when Dan was working as a voiceover, he was also doing stunt shit. You can see him doing the stunt shit all the time in some of the really lame live action shows, like Kickin' It, which was on Disney XD. That's how a lot of them were making their business and making their money. The difference with this is that the new generation, which is to say the generation of people alongside Brittany Lauda and Matt Shipman, who are the husband and wife team that owns Coach of Sound, they're working with individual artists that are doing the porn games. They're doing the porn games, they're doing visual novel games, they're doing visual novel dating sim games. They are the people who got the new start from being the generation of voice actors that ended up being first on the scene when Scott Cawthon started looking for voices with the voiceover generation of Five Nights at Freddy's. And for P.J. Hayworth specifically, a voice actor who's capable of having enough range that he can do both the silly voices and the scary voices, which is how he ended up becoming the voice of Fiddlesticks for the new era of League, alongside Sean Schimmel becoming the new voice of Rise. He had already been ingrained inside the Dallas scene, so he made the money by being able to just work for these jobs, because he already had the credentials, and he already had the connections. And the connections then proliferated themselves over, which is why people hated Funimation for lying and hated Crunchyroll for stealing their cash. Because where the fuck did they get the money to make the new office? And then consolidate that office down after they started losing business. It came directly from the fans who were overpaying. And from promises unkept that revealed themselves when the money came through and the business came through. Which is, you know, same as it ever was. That being said, I'm going to hold the first video for later. I need to take a nap. And I also need to pee. I will probably be back later, but that'll probably be after dinner. I got some things I need to work on and some conversations I need to have and some work I need to do. So I'll talk to you all at a later date. Goodbye, chat. I'll see y'all later. Ooh, my leg beat. My leg has not recovered from Saturday. I swear to God. Every time I try to bend my knees now, it feels like my leg's gonna give out.